A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen dinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop up the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Well, all right, here we are doing this thing again that we do every Thursday. It's nice, like that. Cheers to you, everyone.
Cheers to you, man. I'm actually gonna get my Malibu. What are you drinking today?
This is Innocent Gun Lager, so yeah, I've filled up my stein and I'm good to go with this for the next, 5 minutes at least before I need to refill.
Weird, you say stein, I'm immediately reminded of Resident Evil 4. That's almost a deep cut, isn't it?
No, that is not bad at all.
Yeah, welcome, everybody.
Welcome, one and all. Yeah, this is a busy one tonight, actually. This was one of those weird ones where, yeah, I knew we had Last of Us to cover, and I kind of wanted to get a decent mix of people that had seen it so we could get a range of opinions, I suppose. So we went right across the spectrum of YouTube and got a whole bunch of people together for this. So I guess we should start bringing them in, because this whole intro thing's going to take about 10 minutes by itself.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be long.
Wait, I hate being long. God, long people disgust me.
Gross.
All right, well, the first one we've got here is Little Platoon. Welcome.
Good evening.
And, well, you are celebrating quite the milestone, sir, because you have reached 100,000 subscribers, so well done to you.
I have, thank you. I woke up to that very pleasant news. Yeah, and I look back and it's 13 months ago that I hit 100 subscribers. 6 months ago I hit 10,000. And now, inexplicably, sitting here on 100,000, and I kind of think a lot of people have made a terrible mistake. But I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, if this process of acceleration continues, you should reach 100 million by this time next month, probably. So, yeah, great. Well done.
And remember, no matter how big you get, we're still dragging you back on EFAP when Season 2 of Rings of Power comes out.
Yeah.
I will be, if I'm still alive for that, yes, I'm more than happy to. But no, honestly, I owe you guys most of this, because if it weren't for you two, and if it weren't for Open Bar and EFAP, I don't think I'd even be doing this. So you built a career for me. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And there's also Mr. Brown. He wanted to wish you congratulations for this. He said that they all knew that you were destined for great things back in the day, and it's great to see how well that you've done. So they are very pleased, and they wish you all the best.
Very nice of him. I'll thank him in person on Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, and we've also got Melonie Mac. She is our resident gaming expert, so hello.
Hi, I'm happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
It's been a while, actually. Did we have you in for She-Hulk?
Yep, that's right.
Oh, yeah, that glorious stream. The fun we had talking about that show.
That was a fun one indeed. Really good for YouTube in general. We all
it really was.
Yeah. Really did
it's
well
like
with
every so often a great big cash cow just comes along.
Oh yeah.
And there's there's She-Hulk, now we have Velma. Who knows what's gonna be next?
It's a blessing and a curse. We have to endure it, but hey, it's fun.
It is, yeah, it really is. But yeah, thank you for coming back on this. I'm looking forward to chatting with you about Last of Us in a minute or two. We'll just bring the rest of the guests in. And the next one, sir, is a long-time collaborator, and it's been ages since you've been on this channel. So, Rags, hello, sir. Good to have you back.
Hi, hello. Hi there.
Hello to you. This is some weird, clash. Yeah, it's some weird, two worlds collided here. An EFAP person being on Open Bar. What the hell?
I don't understand it. It's weird. Also, I'm just trying to fix my avatar in the background. Everyone's like, "Hey, it's not showing up. I told you, drink it. I don't know what it is. It's some weird glitch. Avatar. Horrifying."
It showed up for us. We can also
it shows up for you guys, but not for the friendly people at home. So I'm just trying to.
Oh no! But then, how are they going to know what you are?
I don't know.
Okay, it's changed to something else, so maybe
we'll
that
see,
works now.
If you see, you know what, it's fine. Hi, Rags.
Hello, hi MauLer.
Hi, Rags.
It's been so long.
It has been so long.
It's been literally minutes.
It's true. It has been literally minutes.
But thank you for coming back on for this. It's been great too.
No problem.
Thanks, man. And we've, last but certainly not least, we've got hello, sir.
Hello. I hate being long, sadly, is something I've never had to say in my life.
Is it a blessing and a curse?
It's a curse. It's just a curse. Yeah. Whoa. Last of Us. Yay. Velma. Oh, boo hiss. And I've tried to be use my initiative. That's kids. Never use your initiative. It just gets you in trouble.
That's right.
I decided
Every
to
corpse on Mount Everest was once a very highly motivated person.
That's true.
Yeah. Now they're really bad ice cubes.
I've tried to stir them into my drinks plenty of times, and it sucks, man. Honestly, they don't break up as well as you'd imagine.
I don't go to corpses for my cold drinks. I usually just go to like ice, just regular old ice.
I know, but then everyone's looking for the next thing, aren't they? Like it's not just ice. You got to have glacier ice. Yeah, and corpse ice.
Recycling. It's good for the environment.
Sometimes doing it the simple way is the good way. You don't have to, don't try and fix the wheel, guys. It works.
What's going on with your avatar now? It's changed to a third one. How many of these things have you got?
Madness.
I have like 1,000 of them, but I'm just trying to make one of them work for the moment. This one will have to do.
I think the best thing is
sorry.
No, I was gonna say the best thing is put your camera on. Then we'll know it's gonna work. So it's fine.
Maybe one day.
I had a dream about MauLer the other day.
Oh, carry on.
You were a physical person. A tuxedo.
What wasn't he wearing?
Okay.
He was wearing a tuxedo. I know that MauLer's like 6'4", so in my dream he translated as 6'4", and I was like, MauLer.
So you weren't just dreaming about men dressed in leather wearing masks. I do that quite a lot.
He's not denying that.
Well, the thing is, he was tall, but was he?
I guess
he was tall, but was he long? That's what we need to know.
I could not tell. I have to say.
I shouldn't say it's not a gentleman's place.
Yes, it's not for a gentleman to say these things. I can only imagine. I swoon.
We talking about what?
But I decided to use my initiative, and I've actually thought, Drinker, because he's an asshole, because he made me play the last part too. He's gonna be like, oh yes, I hope you've watched episode 3 and 4.
Oh god,
because that is a spot on.
Exactly what he sounds like.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't speak like that at all.
I can't change the laws of physics, Captain.
See, I worked so hard on that impression. So I've watched episode 3 of Velma, and nobody else has.
No.
Why would we fucking do that?
Why would we do that?
Thank you.
No one asked you to.
It's best to view Velma as like the Titanic, and open bars like our lifeboat. We just escape from it.
I was going to say, what do you mean? The Titanic was way more structurally sound than Velma.
I only got one episode though.
You're never going to believe this, but episode 3 is really shit.
No,
really?
They don't turn it around. All that setup doesn't pay off.
They got off to such a strong start.
I know. I'm as disappointed as the rest of you.
Well,
and then I gave up on episode 4 and just thought, fuck it, let's just go to open bar.
Well, legitimately, we joke about, people like to watch us go through different pieces of media for the suffering aspect. I've never felt that way more so than with Velma. When I saw, I was telling people, I think as it was on a real BBC that I was saying, I don't know if I can scrape together anything usable from when we watched those episodes. And a lot of people took that to be like, oh, we won't be able to see it. Then I put out what I did, and people were like, this was great. I was like, it's literally just us crying. I don't understand. It's there's barely any of us breaking down in storytelling. We're just this is fucking horrible.
There's nothing to break down though. It's just a relentless cavalcade of trash.
I did try and break it down, but then the one plot thread I thought I'd just about got a hang of just ended up being effectively a rickroll. It was just a joke that went nowhere, and then I thought, why am I even... I think... Oh, which one was this? This was to do with... This was Velma's backstory. So this was the bit where she has that character moment where she thinks her mum disappeared because she solved a mystery, and then she realizes that actually her mum disappeared because Velma and her dad are horrible. She takes this to mean that she doesn't need to feel guilty anymore, which makes no sense on a character level. And then you think, well, okay, that's character progression. And then they retcon it about 5 minutes later, and she just flips back, Don Draper's. And I think the punchline for that not joke is that the one with the babies dressed as vegetables, or is that a different one? The point is, I don't really remember, because there isn't a plot to break down. And if you try and break it down, you get a headache. And so you shouldn't.
I mean, it's just like if I was to define the plot, it's like we need like to get from A to B via C, D, E, F, G, Z.
But not in that order.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like she wants some files about like her missing mom, and so she needs Daphne to help her, but Daphne will only help her if she gives her $500, and so she has to find a way to raise the $500. So then she has to go like selling drugs with Daphne, but then she can't do it because she keeps insulting the people. And it's like, what is this? Why are you doing this?
Everyone kept crying every time she talks to anybody. Like, I was just like, why is everyone in this world a fucking idiot person?
Because this was written by people from Hollywood, and that's like literally the kind of people that they associate with every day.
No, this wasn't written by people. This was written by aliens masquerading as human beings.
It just seems so gross to me that Mindy, this 40-plus-year-old woman, inserted herself into a character only to ship herself with these teenage characters.
We're gonna start off talking about
it's very
The Last of Us,
uncomfortable.
everybody.
I was about to say,
like
directing.
Fuck it. You know what? Sometimes you just gotta like embrace it. That's the way the winds are blowing, and they're blowing towards Velma. So let's just go there right now.
It's just foul. That's all I have to say for that fucking show. Foul.
Well, yeah, I mean, I said this in my review. It's like not since She-Hulk have I felt such like hatred, like abject hatred and bitterness and mean-spiritedness in a show. It's legit. Like I genuinely hate anyone who's like, well, white and male, pretty much. That seems to be the real gist of it.
It's more bitter, and it's more cruel, and it's more spiteful than She-Hulk. She-Hulk's quite tame next to Velma.
Oh, yeah.
Velma's entire humor... I think I said in my review, since we're plugging our reviews, I said that if a teenage boy had written this supposed comedy celebrating the death of dumb, beautiful sluts and bringing down the stereotypical jock guys who don't deserve their success, and actually they have tiny penises. If a teenage boy had written that, you would call him an incel. It's basically incel humor, but for some other group which I can't quite define. It's very much more mean spirited, I think, than She-Hulk.
She's a femcel.
Yeah.
A lot of people comparing it to She-Hulk. I've noticed. I went ahead and watched three. I watched three people just randomly review the show. Each one of them coincidentally said, this is kind of like She-Hulk, but worse somehow.
The insecure writing definitely just comes across like She-Hulk hardcore.
It's the insecurity, the mean-spiritedness of the writing, and I think it's the constant appeals to the meta, thinking that it's clever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, the amount of times they talk about storytelling like basics, but out loud when we haven't even gotten a story yet. And I was going to say, I actually agree that it's She-Hulk is tame compared to this. When you like broadly describe some of the things that happen in this show to someone who hasn't seen it, it's insane. You'd be like, oh, yeah, by the way, there are many characters that make fun of a teenager's dick size. You're like, I'm sorry, what? And it's like, yeah, he's naked in front of everybody, and they all just want to make fun of him for it. So it's a little strange, a little weird.
There's a lot of. It's a very sexual show in general. The show is very sexual.
With
that
like
shower scene at the beginning. Yeah, it's like I get that they were trying to make a meta joke about like, hey, notice how there's more nudity in the pilot episodes of TV shows to try and draw audiences in. It's like, yeah, okay, but then the joke just keeps going. Like, it's like you didn't need to go beyond that, but it's like, no, they have to keep going. The first 5 minutes of this show is just like a bunch of naked characters with like soap suds strategically placed, you know.
And I think when it's characters that you grew up watching for a bit, you don't even want to see them like that. It's like accidentally walking in on your sibling changing. It's like, oh wait, I don't want to see. I don't need to see Velma or Daphne or any of them like this.
Well, speak for yourself. Just not these two. Not this Velma and Daphne.
It's all very I think Free mentioned it in our coverage. Just like, why did you took something that everyone sort of likes? Like, who hates Scooby-Doo? Nobody really. It's like it's this fun little wholesome thing that happened before.
Yeah. Anyone said it? Scooby-Doo's not in this.
Albeit,
of course, I just mean that's a whole other thing, Rex. Apparently.
But yeah, I've seen people talk about how it might be a legal thing.
It is so wholesome, though. It's a fun. Even as an adult, there's plenty to love about the old school Scooby-Doo, and suddenly we've got this antithesis of the original show, and it's like they want to take all that wholesomeness that the show had, and they just want to pervert it.
Yep.
Just literally just pervert it, and there's no rules in this show either. It doesn't make any sense. It's about Fred being jailed for a murder that they think he committed that he didn't. Meanwhile, like in episode 3, Daphne stabs a girl to death with a pen during a self-defense class.
Spoilers for those of us who haven't seen it yet.
Spoilers!
Oh, no, it's ruined now.
Nobody wants to watch
It's not
this.
spoiled.
I was
You
fully
can't
committed.
spoil shit. It's on your plate and it stinks, you know?
What's fantastic about this show is that, like, it's actually, there's conspiracy theories popped up now that this is some kind of, like, right-wing troll. Yeah, like, that Mindy Kaling is actually a plan, and she set out to make a show that's like a parody of, like, progressive TV writing. It's like there's almost merit in that. It's that bad. It's like it's united left-wingers and right-wingers on social media that everyone hates this show.
So this is the new Warriors all over again. Snowflake and Safe Space and
you can't.
Internet.
I'm sorry, nobody's going to be able to convince anybody that like this was in favor of like in some way like the connected to the right wing. Like you'd be like, this show, no, this is not happening. Unfortunately, I don't even. What has Mindy Kaling said? Is she like this is a progressive
she
show?
once liked a tweet by J.K. Rowling, and that is enough to make you
against humanity.
So that's the evidence for this.
She's problematic. Just as a point of reference, it's got on IMDb, it's got 30,000 ratings, and its overall star rating is 1.3 out of 10. It's
too high.
One of the lowest rated shows of all time.
I mean, I guess it gets 1.3 stars just for the animation.
Oh, that lovely Cal Arts animation style that we've never seen before.
Well, that's great. Fine. The animation's fine.
There are some like when the attack she has from her mum, those hallucinations. Some of the imagery of that I think is better than crap. I should be like, that looks alright.
I think the animation's totally fine.
Simple. Okay.
If it were put on a show that was well written, I think we would be like, the animation's it's like it's hard to praise the animation when you're faced with that level of writing.
Yeah, you just don't think about it. It's just surrounded in terrible jokes, an awful story, and I'm being generous calling it a story. It really just feels like an endless stream of non sequiturs that are glued together with semen.
You know what's weird though as well? Like, and I mentioned this to MauLer before. It's like it's generally like, you know, we're all about like, you know, making fun of rich white men and all that stuff, but then every so often, right, it throws in just this weird off, like from left field joke about the other side. And so, like at one point, they make a joke about, you know, how comedians used to be funny before the Me Too movement, and the Hitler one, where it's like, we compare everyone to Hitler nowadays, and it's like, where did those like random little tiny jokes from the other side come from? Are you trying to like now imply that there's like this balance where the show kind of goes after everyone equally? Because you can't have it like 99% one way and 1% the other and call it balanced.
That's the genius of Mindy Kaling. She's always keeping you on your toes. You don't know what to expect.
That's like a Ryan Johnson movie. Like, God, it's like Glass Onions.
I do wonder, like, you know, the whole
Mindy Kaling's secret twin sister who's terrible at comedy.
Everyone's
the real one's trapped in a dungeon.
To figure this thing out, everyone wants to know where this came from, why it was made, what's the goal, like to the point where what Drinker was saying, they believe the right wing concocted it in order to make the left wing look bad. Like that's how far things go. When it could literally just be the reality of Mindy Kaling sucks, and she made this thing and it's spiteful. That's it.
We were trying to puzzle this. Yeah, we were trying to puzzle this out after we watched the trailer because it's like, okay, what's her sort of writing resume? Because we know that she wrote like 20-odd episodes of The Office, or she's credited as a writer on those episodes. But
I'm told
we don't
by
know.
Someone who actually paid attention to The Office that there is a shared joke, so that the vegetable babies thing, the girlfriend who takes pictures of babies dressed as vegetables for some reason, apparently that's also in an episode of The Office. So
I don't remember that.
If that is true, then I guess we know who wrote that bit and also who wrote that bit of The Office. I don't know though, because I didn't actually watch The Office while sober.
I guess the question was really that, you know, in order to be credited as a writer for an episode of The Office, like, how much work do you have had to have done? Like, could it just be like, oh, I think my character should have said this line of dialogue in this situation. Okay, I'm credited as a contributing writer. Or do you had to have done, like, more than 50% of the script or whatever?
Right.
Because it just, like, if this is the benchmark for what she can do when she's, like, a showrunner.
Alone and in full control, when no one's there to stop her.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think your contribution to The Office was probably quite minimal.
I'm more than happy to admit that she could have just been, as was just implied, like she's surrounded by a whole group of writers that are all working really hard to make a show as good as The Office, and that she got inspired, or maybe even suggested some things. They'd be like, "Hey, it'd be better if you do this." She's like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's a good idea." Meanwhile, as was just said, it seems like this is just her baby. This show, this is everything she wants, and it's like, ugh.
She's been wanting to ruin Scooby-Doo for years.
On the other hand, and I'm not advancing this as any kind of defensive mindicating, but if you look at the end credits and see the number of directors, executive directors, assistant directors, producers, consultant producers, assistant producers, assistant executive producers, assistant consultants, it goes on. It's a huge list of people. She's not actually listed, I don't think, as the chief writer for any of these episodes either.
Oh yeah,
she's evidently
no
a
one person
self-insert.
could have done the Holocaust.
Well, yeah, sure. It takes a whole bunch of complete literary equivalents of Nazis. Yeah, no, I don't know if it's entirely her. If she was surrounded by a really good team for The Office, that probably explains why The Office apparently was quite good. If she's surrounded by a team of incredibly crap people for this show, it probably explains why this show is crap. But it's not entirely her fault. It's just largely her fault.
Well, other really terrible shows like Discovery, Picard, they've got 20 plus producers on the series, and it's like, how can you even contemplate having anything coherent when there's an age-old adage, and it's the reason why we have age-old adages. Too many cooks spoil the broth. And when you've got too many people meddling, you come out with a pile of trash. Now, Mindy Kaling, she's probably used to working in groups of writers because that's the American way, whereas the British way is there's normally one or two tops. When it comes to the writing of the comedies, it's normally credited to either a duo or a singular, and that's why they're shorter in length and shorter in series. 6 for a series, done. Whereas America, you have this big group and they brain fart live on set at times. I've seen it with friends and stuff. Oh, do that. What about okay, we'll go with that one. And it's like a manic thing. But now, because we've got the age of ideology where everything is so partisan, those people who were brain farting are only brain farting in a singular direction. And if you're taking that with you to create your own show, this is what you get. It's just a higgledy-piggledy mishmash of nonsense. There's no logic to the show. There's no rules to the show. There's no cohesion to the show. A scene would be going on, and then one of the characters would just stop and say, "Hey, remember in that movie where the person picks up the flipper and puts it on their hand instead of the foot? That was crazy." And you're just sort of left with going, what are you doing?
They can't carry the jokes through to conclusion either. Like, there's the bit where Velma gets out of the car and says, if I were a rich white person, I'd kill everyone just to get away with it. And then 5 minutes later, the rich white person gets arrested based on no evidence. Like, can you decide where you're going with your joke before you tell the joke?
I also like the fact that both his kneecaps got shot out, and then he was able to leap onto a desk in the middle of a courtroom, like literally hours later, no problems.
Not just arrested, but jailed as well, with no evidence.
He got white privilege injected into him to fix it.
I wish I was rich and white so I could get away with murder. And when that joke dropped, my brain just immediately went O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
That's where my brain went with that. I just immediately see O.J. Simpson.
Famous alleged murderer.
No, he was found guilty in a civil court.
For legal reasons.
No, he was found guilty in a civil court.
You're going to get this stream demonetized. He was accused, but
allegedly
acquitted in a court of law. So
allegedly.
The Omen Bar does not take any official rulings on O.J. Simpson.
The gloves didn't fit. Whatever.
Maybe the fact that there's so many people involved with the production, it might not even be mostly about how many people are contributing ideas, but the willingness to tell people their ideas are really bad. Mm-hmm. If no one is telling you that ideas that you come up with are bad or need more work or need to be reframed, then that probably produces bad results
as well. What if they just don't care to, right? Like, why would I care about this weird fucking sex-deprived person trying to make this awful show? Like,
the fundamental question here is, does Velma represent the utter collapse of Western society? I think Surely every society has a low point, like that point in history where you can just say, this is where they reached their cultural bedrock. This is where they absolutely reached.
The fall of the modern West, and it's like chapter 1, Velma.
All began with Velma.
It's like what began with The Last Jedi ended with Velma. This is where we're at. It's just, but it's apparently going to get a season 2. And I don't know if that's just because they originally had like a larger slew of episodes and they've just split it into 2 smaller seasons, so it gives the impression that it's 2 seasons.
According to loud minority people in my comment section, it's my fault, and it's the fault of anyone who's watched it and reviewed it. Because if it weren't for us,
they renewed this shit like immediately. What is it?
Yeah.
They barely got a good handle.
I got that in my comments too, and they're like, "It's your fault. Don't hate watch it." And I'm like, I just watched clips on Twitter. I didn't even watch any episodes.
Don't even watch clips on Twitter.
The thing is, I watched it once, right? So I got 2 episodes, 1 each. And then I said to basically everyone, don't watch it. It's literally not worth a second of your time. It's
worthless.
It's
a good way to
cancer of the brain.
Show.
Don't do it. And so if they choose to watch it because of that, it's not up to me.
Yeah, you've made everyone watch it by saying that. They'll go, oh, I can't wait to watch this now because he didn't recommend it. What the fuck?
It's like, Drinker says this is garbage, don't ever watch it. Oh, cool, I need to go watch it then, clearly.
Oh,
I watched it with my good friend Captain Jack Sparrow.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, we need to start hating on things that we like, right? If anything comes out that we think is any good, we have to be like, fuck, this is terrible. Do not watch it to raise the numbers.
But really this time.
Yeah, it's like, I'll be really mad if you watch Arcane. Don't you do it.
But HBO released the viewing figures for The Last of Us, but then they said Velma is the most watched animated show. Premiere on HBO, which isn't exactly saturated with greatness,
right?
But they didn't give the figure for what that was. So for all we know, it could be 10 people.
I will be very excited to see.
It was all of us.
Yes.
When they get to like
watch it through normal means.
Yeah.
It was also original animated series. It starts to make you wonder, like, wait, what is actually? What is it going up against?
They don't have anything original animated on there. They just have like Batman and stuff.
It's like original animated series,
original animated premiere on a list of 1.
Yeah.
It's the only one.
I was about to say, what is this competition? I don't know.
Well, it'd be like original animated series that were released in January under a full moon with, like, it's like as specific as we can possibly
organized
make
by
it.
Mindy Kaling.
Right. Well, I'm
it's the most successful Mindy Kaling show ever. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what their ratings are at when they get to the end of the season, because I guarantee, like, everyone tuned in for those first couple of episodes just because there was a big fuss around how shit it was. And no one is going to watch it after that, apart from Az. It's like that's pretty.
We drew straws before earlier on. Az drew the shortest one. He has to watch all of Velma and report back to us on how it goes.
This is your Batwoman, Az.
Don't say that about Batwoman.
That's coming in March.
Batwoman is a joy to watch. All right. This is misery distilled into its purest form. Like a drug sold on the streets that ruins your life.
At least Batwoman attempted to be cohesive. It might not have made a lot of sense in some places, but at least it had structure. This doesn't have any structure at all.
Well, the incompetence of Batwoman makes me laugh. It doesn't make me hate myself.
No.
Typically, you'll have scenes that don't connect, but in Velma, they really have sentences that don't connect to other sentences. Like,
no one's real in Velma. They're just all cartoon people that are aliens.
I like to think this is how Taika Waititi's mind works. Just constantly synapsing between different things, even in the middle of a thought. And he can't, like, focus on anything for more than a few seconds, and everything has to be like a goofy joke that doesn't make sense to anyone except him, and like that's kind of what Velma feels like.
Well, if Taika Waititi was the showrunner of Velma, he'd be sleeping with Mindy Kaling.
Oh man, took me off my beer ass.
Image I wanted.
That's just the way he rolls when it comes to his cast members.
All alleged. All of this is
allegedly.
This is all alleged.
Hell,
I have
once again that this is all alleged.
At what point, right? Because we seem to have crossed some threshold here as well. At what point did it become just accepted. In fact, not even accepted, but expected that the writer would just project themselves onto a character that they were writing. Because it's like, Mindy Kaling was interviewed, obviously, about this, and the question obviously came up, like, well, why is Velma now Indian, and why does she look almost physically exactly like you? And her answer was... But it was so matter-of-fact, her response. It was like, well, you know, I grew up Indian in America, and... you know, it was just a natural choice that I would, of course, make her like me so that I could relate to her. And I thought, what is this thing that we used to call it? I'm sure it was called, like, imagination or something. It's your ability to conceive of ideas and characters that aren't literally like you or the things you've done in your life.
You're thinking of imagination. It's like when a whole
nation... it's a proud race of people, the Amagi Nation.
That's the one, yeah.
I miss the days
I colonized them.
When we would like look at characters and be like, oh, they're cool. I want to be more like this character instead of I need this character to validate me. You know?
Do you really want to be seen as like, oh, you're like Velma? You relate to Velma? Oh, okay, Mindy. Stay away from me.
But I think in her mind,
it's not even the Velma we're familiar with. She made it crazy, horrible.
Oh yeah, you just poached an IP. You got rid of the fucking dog. You removed Scooby-Doo from Scooby-Doo.
The biggest sin.
I remember Velma when I was a kid being the girl. If your mates didn't find out, you totally would.
Let's be
she always
honest.
had that kind of vibe going with her, you know.
I get
Scooby-Doo movies, Lindy Cardellini.
This Velma, not so much.
Nobody would be ashamed to say that about Linda Cardellini from the movies.
Yeah. That was some good casting right there.
That's what they were like. Velma secretly hot? It's like secretly,
openly.
She's like, what is it like? Supermodel hot or movie hot? Where you take off the glasses and all of a sudden, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they definitely did that with her in those movies. Yeah, it's like, look how unappealing she is. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Right.
Oh, no, I can't stand to look at her. It's awful. But yeah, like, just to come back to the point I was making there, but it's like now that mindset seems to almost be just the accepted thing now amongst writers in Hollywood, where you're just going to project your own identity onto a character that you're writing, and nobody seems to question it. Well,
there used to be,
but then they don't understand this shit
in writing, which was that you write what you know, and that was always what you were sort of not specifically told to do, but
to be a terrible person. So
she does know how to be a really terrible person. She's doing that literally. I mean, she's taking that advice literally. But that used to just be an example of...
What if all the 15-year-olds were naked in the showers?
Allegedly.
What if
allegedly she's writing herself. But she's taken that literally. But it used to just mean, look, you draw on personal inspiration, and then you apply your imagination to your personal inspiration, and you can put your best friend in the body of another person in a galaxy far, far away, and it'll have some of their characterizations and all the rest of that. That's sort of been like, that's perverted now, because we now do live in the state where write what you know has morphed into you can only write what you know, in the sense that you cannot, for example, write a gay character unless you are yourself gay. You can't write a black character unless you're black. You can't do this, that, or the other unless you are the characteristic that you're describing. Right. That's the mentality that most of Hollywood operates by now. It's not a conscious decision, I don't think. I don't think these people sit around saying, well, we have to enforce this as a kind of ideological discipline. What it is that these people have been brought up in this school of thought, which is purely selfish. It is self-obsession. It's the cult of the artist as genius. All they want to do is write themselves, and anything else they've justified away as being in some way bigoted or oppressive or suppressive of minority groups. You're not allowed to write anybody but yourself, according to the people who write shows like this. So they're not gonna, and that will carry on for a while, because it's not just Mindy Kaling, it's a whole school of writers across every major film studio, every major writing workshop, who all believe roughly this thing. And that's why you get no variety in character anymore. You just get authorial insert.
I would add one thing to that, is that you're absolutely right about you're only allowed to write gay characters if you're gay, female characters if you're female, black characters if you're black, unless it's a white character.
Yeah.
In which case,
everyone can write
anyone can write any gay, black, woman, man, somebody that goes by made up fucking names. They can all write white characters.
Or dogs.
It's funny as well because they always choose to write them as useless fucking assholes.
Velma is kind of the epitome of this, where the only character that they seem to have kept certainly aesthetically like the original is Fred, and Fred is reviled in the show. For whatever reason, Mindy Kaling and the people who made Velma hate Fred with a passion. He is constantly the butt of jokes. He has no positive personality traits. He is something to be laughed at and mocked and ridiculed. He's just the butt of a joke in a very mean-spirited kind of way. But everyone else, I mean, everyone's a detestable, just foul, awful person in this show, but the show recognizes it about Fred, which is a big difference.
It's because it's held up as a virtue with the other characters. With other characters, their behavior is lauded. It's sassy, it's basically facile and superficial, which are the values that most people in social interaction, not most people, but most of these writers in social interactions value in their friends. You seemingly are quick-witted, you're basically an airhead, you don't actually have any substance, because substance is in some kind of way, it induces a vulnerability. It's not cool to have substance. Just be as superficial as you possibly can. With Fred, though, it's easier because every basically puritanical movement has to have an out-group to pillory. And it used to be Jews in literature, when Jews could be written by anyone, and they were always the evil, conniving, money-grabbing type who committed all the crimes, who poisoned all the wells, all social ills fell on them. And it just so happens that amongst Hollywood's major writing set at the moment, that new out-group cast happens to be straight white men. But it'll change over the course of time.
I miss when it was the Germans and the British. We were all the villains and everything.
Yes.
Because us British people legit are evil.
Hell yeah.
So we don't mind those kind of stereotypes.
It was funny. Me and when Metal came over, we watched quite a few movies, a lot of classic ones as well. And there was this one consistent element, because we'd seen like Indiana Jones, a couple of other ones, but we were just like, man, all the villains end up being German a lot of the time. A lot of the guest characters, even like we watched the Addams Family by chance, and I'm pretty sure the lady in that who's like the bad guy is German. I was just like, wow, what just fucking quiz. Germans are used as bad guys quite a lot. It's like,
there's a long history in British literature of portraying the French as evil, conniving bastards as well. Yes. I mean, every major group has an out group. It changes throughout history. It's just that we have one at the moment that represents a majority of the population as opposed to a minority of the population, or the population of a different country.
You have to question then, like, why would these people ever choose to watch a show like this? And I guess the answer is they wouldn't, which is why they keep failing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, help me out here, because based on my childhood memories of Scooby-Doo, like, Fred was never a bad guy.
No.
Like, he wasn't some overbearing asshole or anything. He was just like the slightly goofy leader of the group. He was gee whiz, I smell a mystery here. Let's go and investigate.
He was brave. He was assertive.
He's
he was
a good
leader.
He was the one who made all of the traps and all the little contraptions and things that were tried to catch the villain. He was the one who built all that sort of thing.
His shtick, I think, was that he tended to leap to conclusions, didn't like? He quite would often try and unmask the villain, but he would get it wrong, and it would usually be like Velma or Shaggy and Scooby, who would kind of
say no, it's the only one other character we saw this episode.
Oh my god, why do I never see it?
I love the fact that those sort of episodes might be like, it's old man Winklebaum because he's trying to get the real estate mobile. He's trying to scare people from visiting this place to run down the money on it. It's like, we got you dressing up as a spooky ghost to get people.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't a few meddling kids.
Yeah.
Never some random person who just loves scaring people.
Imagine watching like 10 of those and then being like, oh, what's the modern
No, there's also there's no mystery machine in this either.
Well, if you remember, as the beginning of episode 1, she says, like, this wasn't some sex van that was created by Fred. It was me that brought everyone together to solve mysteries. I was already just like, fucking kill me. Like, fucking hell.
It's any idea that you have, all of you people watching this, of if you
what do you mean,
got
you people?
I mean that we know. We'll tell you what, we'll edit this part out later. This is for the live crew who watches this.
I'm gonna have to go some to make this acceptable for YouTube ads.
But all of whoever may or may not be watching this, if you were tasked with making a show about the origin story of the Scooby-Doo gang, whatever you just came up with, write that at the top of your head. That's better than Velma. I promise you. Because you might want to explore things like, oh, well, how did they meet? I guess maybe they went to the same high school and maybe something happened and they all were involved in some way. And they're all flawed, but they also have positive traits. And maybe individually, they're not that great at solving mysteries. But when they work together as a cohesive unit and they can actually work well together, and it gets them to start this mystery solving business because, Velma does this, and Fred does that, and Daphne does this and this. And I guess there's this dog and it talks. I don't know what's up with that, but that's cool. He gets to stick around.
That was all the rage back then.
God, imagine a talking dog.
Or
crazy.
Or dogs, animals. Yeah.
I have a question about.
It's missing sex, drugs, and misery.
That's true. It's missing naked teenagers and drugs and fucking roaches.
And veiled hatred.
Naked miners, please. Can we?
For anybody who's not familiar, there's cockroaches that fuck each other in this. That about sums up the quality of the show.
Oh my god, he's so handsome. What an absolute chat.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
He is good. He's a good boy. He's really
weirdly familiar.
Talking dogs can work, Rags. I'm gonna go with that.
I can confirm they work as a shtick. One thing that I was very upset, we talked about representation and diversity, which we're all a fan of here on the Open Bar. Yes. We're very pro inclusion and diversitism. The one dog in the group they removed, and I personally
found that offensive.
I find that a bit offensive. You had one talking dog in the whole gang, and he just happens to be not here. Just something I noticed.
Where's your talking dog representation?
It's a doggo genocide. First they came for the gingers, then they came for the doggos. What's next? Who knows?
I don't think Daphne's Korean.
No, she's not in the original. No, she's just a white chick.
No,
but she's
I was making a
what sound does a Chinese chicken make? Meow.
Wow.
That's what I heard. Allegedly. I don't agree with it myself, but that's what I heard.
It's a rumor.
Don't eat dogs. Dogs are man's best friend. Not that we'd know if we watched Velma, because there ain't none.
No, there ain't a dog.
Scooby-Doo, luckily, escaped the show unscathed, so maybe it's a positive thing that he's not represented.
Yeah, this is a good thing, because they would pervert him, too, and ain't nobody want to see that.
Well, that's the final frontier with TV now. It's bestiality. It's only a matter of time.
When Norville, aka Shaggy, was on the computer in episode 2, I think it was, one of the people in the stream was called Scrappy.
You almost said Shatty, didn't you?
Shatty.
I almost said Shaggy, but that would be incorrect.
Shatty.
So is the rumor not that Scooby is now going to be a woman?
They're gonna literally.
A black woman is gonna be called Scooby with an eye.
Some people saying no, it's Chloe, but then they showed a picture of Chloe, and it's not the same woman. I really think it's true. It's gonna be Scooby.
Could she not just have changed her hairstyle? Because I read that rumor, and I did also. It was hilarious, and I almost wish that it happens because, well, it can't get worse.
I seriously that's one of those no fucking way you would.
Yeah,
I hope
it did come out afterwards.
Need more content. Bring it on.
There's a video right there if that's true.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Let's discuss everything wrong with this. Oh, it's driven Rags to drink. Come on, Rags. It's driven it to booze.
I don't know. I don't want my mind to associate Velma and alcohol.
You'll be an alcoholic by Tuesday.
No, that would turn me sober, I think.
Whenever I drink, I don't want to think, oh, this is like the time I watched Velma.
Ooh.
I did challenge people. In my live chat and in the comments. It's like, what would it take for you to actually enjoy this unironically? And no one could actually give me an answer.
Heroin.
I suggested heroin.
There's not enough drugs in the world.
Very high dose of medical marijuana.
Having had morphine in my life, even 20 years later, I still dream about having it. It's so wonderful.
I got morphine when I had kidney stones, and it was great.
Yes. I had it with my I had to have my gallbladder removed, so
I think
I was pepped up on
Pure bliss.
The doctor killed me. The doctor overdosed me on morphine and killed me.
You died and went to hell, and so you had to watch Velma?
I was revived. I woke up to a nurse straddled across me on my bed, slapping my face, going, "Wake up! Wake up!
Stop hitting yourself! Stop!
You pay good money for that where I come from,
That's the thing with the. I know. I mean, I immediately got my wallet out, but she said, "No, first one's always free."
It's a safe one.
No, this is the NHS. Don't worry about
it. But he put too much. It was a student doctor, and he was on the night shift, and I'd just come out of theatre, and I was like moaning because I was in so much pain. And he just put it. He said, "Oh, give him this mil of morphine." And when it was two, it was just he put it in.
Just holds up like a pint glass.
It
give him this much.
It didn't touch the pain at all. And the nurse was like, "Doctor, he's still in pain. Look, doctor." She was like really going at him. So he said, "Put this amount of milligrams in." That was it. I was done. I was just everything from head to toe went numb. I could hear, all I felt like was a shell and my heart beating. And because this is how you overdose, you stop breathing, you're too relaxed. That's how you die. And I was too relaxed. I just wasn't breathing. I could just hear my heart. I was just listening to my heart. And it was like, ba-dum, ba-dum, and it was just going, ba-dum.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually terrified.
And I was just like listening to
I know.
and I didn't feel like I was suffocating, and I didn't feel anything. And then the next thing I know, I've got this fucking nurse twatting me across the face. Wake up! Wake up! And then
I do believe we've topped all of our stories now. It's like, well, I fucking died. Beat that.
Well, he's trying to explain what it feels like to watch Velma, I think.
Yes.
Your heart just
So I want that feeling back again. I don't mean the morphine. I mean the death.
Well, the thing is, right? Like maybe the Mayans were right, and it did end back then, and we're just in hell now.
I think so.
Well, it's like that Family Guy episode for sorry, Rick and Morty. You know where they're just living in a simulation, but it's only running at like 10% capacity, so like nothing like has any like detail to it. That's like Velma. Like that's what would be playing on the TV 24/7 because that's all they could put in.
It's gone to the point, right, where people will just be like, "This is obviously just made to annoy you." And it's funny because if Mindy Kaling heard that, there's a good chance she would be like, "What? No, I'm trying to make a fun show that I think is good." It's like, nobody believes anyone anymore.
I think Platoon, if you were asking what would it take to make this show enjoyable for me personally, I think if I could theoretically be made deaf and blind, then I'd probably have a perfectly fine time watching it. Yeah. Should be fine.
It was asked what would it take, to watch the show, or what would it take to get you to watch the show. Consider that it's our job to turn bad media into money, and we don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should have a warning, like if you are a creature of any kind that has senses, then you should stay away.
Avoid this film.
If there's an ability for you to absorb the realities of the world, you shouldn't be here.
If you're self-aware, don't watch it.
This is the greatest Last of Us discussion I've ever had.
We should move on to that actually, because I feel like with Velma,
I thought about this far more than the writers.
I don't know if it's clear or not to the chat. It's not good. Yeah.
Well, show of hands, who would recommend it? Like, just say
pretty
yes
good.
now.
6 out of 10.
I think we should wait till the finale to truly judge it.
That's right.
Literally the worst thing that humanity has ever produced. 4 out of 5.
If Scooby turns out to be that black girl, we're all doing videos. Let's not lie.
Yeah.
I will be back on this show.
I said she was a dog.
You're saying she's a black woman of animals? Oh, you're saying the dogs?
That's just the whole internet will be incensed on that shit. They'll just be like, "Oh, article time. Let's write some articles."
I feel like
imagine how much Mindy Kaling will just be unpersoned if that happens. Damn.
I'd love it if she just came out saying, "It's empowering." It's like,
yeah.
Oh god. So anyway.
However, on to slightly happier subject matter. The Last of Us has now come out. Yeah, the zombie apocalypse that destroys humanity and subjects the survivors to abject misery. That is a step up from Velma.
Yeah.
But I suppose we should do like a little, I don't know, like a initial impressions, like from a little round table of everyone here. You know, did you enjoy that first episode, and what's your feelings on it? So
what's our word limit?
Right,
6.
MauLer, it can't be long. Like I'll time you.
It can't be long.
You've got 30 seconds to convey your thoughts succinctly. Wow. So I will give you that 30 seconds. Go.
Am I first?
Yeah, I'll let you go first. We'll go clockwise.
Okay, I thought it was good. I thought they did a good job of adapting the show. I thought they made changes that were really neat, and you know, there's a lot of changes in that I don't necessarily agree with. Also, there's a couple of contrivances I'm not happy with. Maybe changes they should have made to maybe make the show a little bit better. I thought the acting was serviceable to good, if not great, in very small parts. I thought that maybe the setup that's not in the game, where they talk about the cordyceps, I thought that was a really cool tone setter. I thought it was a neat bit of horror that was involved, and yeah, okay, thumbs up.
Yes. And you did that with 5 seconds to spare. I have made the long man short.
Fantastic.
I have done what no one has done in the whole history of YouTube. Little Platoon, what was your impressions? Because I think you came into this not having played the game, so...
Stopwatch on. No, I'd never played the game before, and I was underwhelmed by episode 1. I didn't hate it. I thought it was serviceable. I just thought it started with a reasonably intriguing premise, which it then went on to rush because it did the cop-out of giving us the pre-introduction in the 60s, which informs the audience exactly what's going on, which means it doesn't have to spend as much time as it really should be spending on the actual setup, then rushed it through with plane crashes and then fell into vaguely kind of generic post-apocalyptica. It wasn't terrible, but it just didn't really do much for me.
Fair play.
30 seconds exactly, by the way. I think
you are. Yeah, that was bang on. Melonie, your thoughts?
My thoughts are that it wasn't bad, and I think considering the TV shows that we've been getting lately, it's a lot better than most of what's out there. But compared to the game, it's very underwhelming, especially with the character portrayals in general. I think the acting is amazing and the overall quality is great, but it just doesn't have the same charm as the game. And I don't like what they've done with Joel as a character overall. So overall, I'd say like decent, but not great.
Okay, fair play. Rags, what about you, sir? What's your thoughts?
For a TV show that's based off of one of the most overrated video games of all time, fucking sue me. I liked it. I thought it was quite good. I thought generally it followed the game's premise pretty closely, considering that it's a TV show based off of a video game, probably to where I would call this the most faithful adaptation of a video game IP into a show that I've ever seen. I thought the acting was generally good all around. There was clearly work put into the dialogue and character interactions. It's a very believable premise that I think was set up well, and I'm interested to see more, and I'll definitely be checking it out as episodes release.
Nice. Okay. And Az?
I like the acting and I like the world design. Marlene, however, was the only character that felt like the actual character they played in the game.
Yes.
Joel and Ellie are absolutely cosplayers comparative to the game version. Was too much unnecessary bloat. They said a paragraph when they could have just said a sentence to describe stuff. Very mid and over bloated.
Okay.
Yep.
I think you did that with about 5 or 10 seconds to spare.
Yeah,
so
we followed your crazy rules, Drinker. Now you have to.
I have got 38 seconds, dude. I know how to fucking cram it.
That's what she said. All right, I'll go. Overall, I think it's a reluctant thumbs up for me. I've got some reservations about some of the character choices that they've done. I think I like Pedro Pascal as Joel a lot more than I expected to. I think his writing, though, is perhaps a little bit more passive than he was in the game. It seems to have cast Tess in a more like senior role to him, which I kind of wasn't expecting. And I got the weird impression that she's going to be in the story for a lot longer than she was in the game. Not sure about the actress that's playing Ellie. There's something weird about her face. Like all her proportions just seem a bit weird and off. And I can't shake the feeling that she's just the Lady Mormont from Game of Thrones all over again. And yeah, again, it tries to assert that she's like more intelligent than him and you know, more savvy than him. But overall, I think it's a pretty good adaptation of the game. I like the intro. I like the world that they've created. Overall, it's got promise. And I probably went over there slightly, but that's my thoughts so far.
This could be one of those incredibly sort of pointless and dumb questions, but how much of your response to it, generally, panel, reaction to it, is based on it being the video game adaptation, and how much would you have been less interested, if at all, had it not been adapting a much-loved, or until recently much-loved video game?
It's a good question.
From a personal level, absolutely is affected by the video game. I thought the show did these set pieces from the video game very well indeed, but you're literally just taking the source material, which was really good, and adapting it. So to actually fuck that up would have taken something special. The stuff that they added, to me, added unnecessary bloat. Unlike Rags, I actually, or maybe yourself, sorry, I actually didn't like the slow open. I didn't like the slow burn with Sarah.
Well, I did like it. So
I liked the way that the game literally threw you into it very quickly and put you off your balance. It didn't allow you to settle. So when Sarah is actually killed, it's an absolute shock, because you're thinking Joel's going to get away with his daughter, and then we're going to get a story of revolving around that. But no. And so the whole having Sarah around for longer, I think the actress was great, by the way. I think she was really good. But I don't think it added anything, certainly for me. But I am very aware of the video games.
Right.
And yes, if I hadn't played the video game, I would be coming at the show from a different angle completely.
See, I didn't mind that slightly longer intro, just because I think it's okay to let the audience tune into this world a little bit before you start destroying it. And I think just to watch the slow kind of collapse of things, just starting off with little, things on the news, that sort of thing. And then the police cars going by, and then the choppers going overhead. There's the growing sense of tension that something's very, very wrong. And then the TV, failing, and then that's when everything just goes to shit. So I didn't mind that necessarily, and I think it was all right to let us bond with that character a little bit before they killed her off, because she did get a decent chunk of screen time, which I thought was, for me, it was okay. I didn't mind that.
All right, now it's my turn to do the positive end of it.
Because I liked it too.
I thought Drinkers was quite positive.
No, his was more neutral to positive. I'm going to go further positive, right? That's what this show's about. It's about an echo chamber, okay? We got to get this sorted. So I like it a lot because I think it did a really good job, and it's compared to what you get in the game, it's a different experience. What we get here is she's essentially our POV character, and we get a normal world for a decent chunk longer. Much more classic way, at least in my familiarity with destroying a world, like Drinker kind of brought up. But I think it's a particularly good move to have so many scenes that are framed from her point of view, so that we can get comfortable with the idea that we're going to be seeing the world fall apart from her POV to then wipe her out. Driving you into it straight away, providing that sort of discontent of like, well, what the fuck is going on in the game? I consider it a different approach. I don't consider one better than the other. I appreciate the emotional value of what those experiences can drive, but
especially because one's a video game, so starting it off with a lot more faster pace, I think it owes itself really well to a game.
Yeah, and I appreciate seeing her in school, seeing her have a meal with her dad, seeing her interact with the neighbors, and then there's just those tiny details. Even the person in school with their hand shaking, just like, that's kind of weird. The feeding the old lady, right? When we know that the cordyceps they get infected, like everyone gets infected via the food, I think. So it's just dropping these small things as we move on, and then everything goes to shit. I enjoy as well. You have in the game, right, that Joel kills like the first zombie, I think, in front of his daughter, and it's quite a shock, and like they're both trying to reconcile. Well, this is like, we see, as much as that does happen in the show, her first interaction hardcore is like alone in a house with people bleeding and dying, and it's just like it's a really harsh intro, and then her dad comes in to save her. I still think that's a harsh juxtaposition. It's a jarring experience, and then we get all the sequences, like you said, from the game that I think are really well done, until she gets killed, which again, they just seem different as approaches to me. I quite like a slow burn to build it up and cut her off, or a harsh jump into an environment that's very juxtaposed in terms of like, oh, chill. Because you get that scene, right, where she gives him the watch in the game, very calm, very warm, and they rightfully copy a lot of it into the show, because, to be honest with you, that's what we're looking for, right? We want them to do that. We want them to treat it with respect and actually use the good content where it is.
Yeah.
But this time around, we just have all this backup as well in terms of establishing the world before it falls apart. I just think these are two different ways of doing it, and I like both of them.
I think they could both work. I didn't like the fact that it was like a crashing aircraft that took out their car. Like, because I'm sure in the game, did they not just get like T-boned by a truck or something like that?
Yeah.
Like,
I think so. Yeah.
See, this is weird. The bit that I found unpleasantly jarring, and by unpleasantly I mean I don't think it worked narratively. So I love the slow build-up stuff in any other context. It's Day of the Triffids, John Wyndham, even The Walking Dead has it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I think it probably takes quite a lot of inspiration from, given the fungus that infects people slowly. You get all of that background world building and the slow sort of passive building of suspense. Even Shaun of the Dead does that really well. I love that kind of thing. And I think it did it really, really well, right up until the moment it decided, right, it's time for us to actually get on with the main story now. So we're going to planes are crashing in the streets, and that's about 12 hours, I think, isn't it? Well, not even that, because she goes to bed, and then this all kicks off. So you've got very, very slow world building, very slow building of passive tension, and then all of a sudden, time for stuff to happen, so let's have all the stuff happen at once, which you don't get in any other work which actually exploits that narrative device well, in my opinion. I don't think Invasion of the Body Snatchers, for example, doesn't just jump you into high-octane action on a whim. Day of the Triffids doesn't do that. Even The Walking Dead doesn't really do that. The Walking Dead actually builds it into the world more sort of diegetically, in the sense that he's been in bed and unconscious for a very long time, which explains the state of the world that the actual show is mainly set in. Whereas this is just very slow build-up, very well done, well orchestrated, takes its time, and then bang, everything's gone in one go. Which, like, is that even how a fungal infection could conceivably work?
It's almost like everyone who was infected with this fungus was on a timer, and like they all just like their alarm clock just went off like within the space of an hour in this.
It does seem like that's what they want us to think, and of course, having a sleep between those moments means that we do jump from a level of intensity to a much more significant one. I think 27 days later, and as you mentioned, Walking Dead, both of those are characters waking up from a coma, right?
Yeah.
So that everything can. Well, and to be fair, when they wake up, it's post-apocalypse time. In this, it's the beginning of the apocalypse almost.
Yeah. And I think going back to the question about the game, for example, to me, the game tells the story better in every way so far, most especially with the character portrayals and also the chemistry among the characters. One of the absolute worst things I'm seeing in this show so far is how they've turned Joel into a much more passive guy. And in the game, he's just like, he's this Texan, just very masculine, strong-willed guy. And right out the gate, even with his daughter, he's not even in much of a fatherly role. It's just the whole dumb dad trope, dumb dad, smart daughter trope. All of the women don't respect him. He's looking at Tess as his authority figure, which did not happen in the game. While she did make decisions and help convince him of things, it was just that, convincing him. And then he decided, oh, this is the best route. Let's go ahead and continue with the mission, for example. And so we're seeing, if it wasn't for just like two moments, one when crap first hit the fan with the outbreak and him taking more charge and protecting, doing what he could to protect his daughter and all that, he did take more charge there. And then at the end, when he goes ham on that guard, he took some charge there. But other than that, no. And not only that, but I don't know if it's the Texan in me right now with me living in Texas, but I feel like there was a very deliberate attempt to just remove guns as much as possible, because in the game, Joel, he gets immediately his first reaction, like any Texan man would, oh, let me get my gun. And he didn't do that. This time he carried a wrench while his brother had a gun. And in the games, they're smuggling guns. Him and Tess are smuggling guns. But in this show, it's like, oh, we're trying to sell a car battery instead. Yeah. It just feels so deliberate. Not only that, but it's like the good guys here in this situation with Tess and Joel, they were way more edgy in the game. You actually see Tess kill a guy because of not getting their guns and money back. And she was pretty savage. And she's more bark and no bite now so far from what we've seen. They don't want to do something like that because they're scared to give a little edge to the good guys. And I feel like the characters are especially so much better in the game than in the show.
I've seen that complaint around, the idea that she's making breakfast for him, she's sort of fixes his watch, but you understand
she's the big spoon in bed. And he's the little
spoon. Right.
This is her daughter. This is just
Joel's daughter at first, and then Tess.
Sorry,
but like
Tess though, yeah.
It's a relationship I really appreciate because of the fact that he's clearly hardcore. He makes it clear with his work. He wants to do all the work himself. He wants to keep the money split between him, and then he says, by extension, I don't even want to split it with the brother. It's already setting up how much Joel wants to make sure he takes care of his own. In this case, it would be him and his daughter, and obviously as the games go on, it'll be him and Ellie. It extends to Tess, extends here and there, but he's very focused on his job, right? So his daughter gets his watch fixed. It's supposed to be an idea about how he doesn't focus on any smaller or littler things. But when this all kicks off, her playful authority over her dad is gone. He controls everything, and he tells her like exactly what to do, even to the point of possibly shouting at her. This exact kind of relationship I would expect, where when everything is fine, you can say to your dad, like, You're an idiot if you don't have your vitamin C. He's like, oh yeah, that's cute. But as soon as a zombie turns up, he's like, get the fuck behind me right now. And he'll like grab the wrench, knock the thing out in front of her, and tell her, look, I have to kill. When he's like, this isn't the person you know. She's gone. Like, I had to do what I did. We have to go. Stuff like that. I thought he did a pretty good job of it.
I think he did in that initial section. I kind of agree with Melanie in the sense of when you jump forward in time. And you see him, he seems to have less agency than he had in the game, because I always got the impression in the game that he was a joint operative in that gun running enterprise that he had going with Tess. Whereas in the show, it kind of feels like he's just like going through the motions day to day of working, and like Tess kind of makes all the strategic decisions, and it's a weird kind of change in dynamic, I suppose. And I'm going off my knowledge of the game, which is a few years old now, but I always got the sense that Joel had a lot more going on in terms of like his own decision making abilities. And even in this, right? See when he loses his shit at the end of the episode and he beats that guard to death. That should have played out as a shocking moment for Ellie, who's watching it. As like, oh my god, this guy's just beat a man to death. But what it plays out in the TV show is he lost his cool, like just completely like beat a man savagely to death because he was no longer in control of himself. It didn't seem like even a conscious tactical decision. It was just, I've lost my mind because I'm having a flashback of what happened to my daughter. And she's watching it, instead of in horror and shock of watching a man die, she's watching like, yeah, that's what you should have done. You know, she's not even like showing any emotion. And it creates a strange dynamic between those characters that I just I wouldn't have expected in a situation like that.
I will say, not a fan of the performance she gives in the first reaction to him beating the guy up. She almost, I wish I could send the picture to you because I'm looking at it right now. And
it looks like she's encouraging him.
She's I don't know what emotion they're trying to sell to me. If I can send you the image, because and we can put it up on screen and kind of judge it.
This kind of ties into what I said earlier. Like, I'm not a fan of this actress. Like,
no.
I don't know.
Can't make up my mind if she's just really like playing it close to her chest, or if she's just not good at acting.
I don't like her
right?
either.
But like this, I'm willing to give her a couple more episodes to decide. But this scene where I'm very into him, like wailing on this guy for reasons of obviously referencing back to what happened with his daughter. But then her reaction, she like slides in from the side, and she kind of looks engaged or enticed by it. And it's just like, what are you trying to sell to me right now?
Yeah, there you can see it. Look.
Oh my god, it's 50% off in the shoe shop.
I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. It was a weird one. I think his second reaction is a little better, where she just looks a bit like shocked.
It's jarring too, because Ellie was such a smarty pants with Joel, which makes sense. That's fine. But then with Tess, she's just like all agreeable, like, oh, okay, all right, whatever you say, a type attitude. And it's like, wouldn't she be? Why not make her consistent with both of them? But it just seems to be a pattern in the show. It's like none of the female characters respect Joel at all. But they'll respect each other.
Well, yeah. Remember in the
How
hallway
does Tess disrespect Joel?
Tess? No, it's not so much.
She does. She when she goes to discuss the matter with him, she literally explains what it is before he's even said anything. Just turns around and makes her own decision.
Yeah.
Where was this? What was that?
This was in the corridor after Bob and his henchmen had been killed.
Well,
Marlene's like, I need you to take Ellie.
I think they did reach a kind of mutual decision there, because Joel did like seem amenable to what they were suggesting, but it was like Tess seemed to have the deciding vote on this one, and she spoke for him, which I don't know.
And then
I don't know how that played out in the game, but I feel like it was slightly different.
He even looks at he looks at Tess at some point, just like, what do we do now? What do we do now, Tess? It's like he's just looking for her authority, and that's just not the dynamic that they had in the game.
Is that bad?
Yes, it is.
Why?
I don't think that Tess should just be Miss Boss Lady in this situation. They're supposed to be equals working together. They both were hot-headed, edgy, like strong-willed people. And so taking that dynamic and turning him into like this passive,
because they seem very super agreeable with each other.
And then she's just calling all the shots. No, that's not nearly as cool as how the game portrayed it.
In the game, they're not in a relationship. It's ambiguous.
Right.
They're not in a firm relationship. It's implied that something has happened with them. Now, whether that's an ongoing thing or whether or not it was something that happened a while ago and now it's not happening, but it was ambiguous. And so it actually kind of makes, because if we're playing by the game's rules for the next episode, Tess, in theory, has about 10 minutes left.
Yes, exactly.
And then she's done. And when that bit happens in the game, it's actually pretty heart-wrenching because of the ambiguity of the relationship, because it's not absolute. You, as the player, are given the decision to make up in your own mind if there was more to them, and Joel having to let her go right now is really kind of tough, because he whether or not he would prefer to stay and have a last stand with her, but he can't because of Ellie. And so I think it makes that scene much more impactful.
Well, I think even if, whether or not you know that there's a romantic relationship in the game, you can at least infer that there's a close relationship there, either friendship or romantic. Sure. It almost doesn't matter too much. It's the fact that like she means something to Joel in the game, and so leaving her behind and losing her at an early stage like that is a tough thing for him to have to cope with. And then being saddled with Ellie simultaneously, it puts a lot of strain on him as a character. So I think that's fine. Like, it doesn't. I don't mind the fact that they expand on their relationship a little bit in the TV show.
I would go as far as saying that confirms that they had more of a connection, and that might actually make her death more impactful. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But I'd also go as far as saying, when she comes back, if you remember when she's getting beaten up, the worry Robert and his men have is Joel. They're like, listen, we can get rid of you. We can sort out you, but that friend of yours is going to come for us.
She even says they're terrified of you, Joel.
Don't tell.
But she needs to tell him that. That's an important thing for him to realize. From her.
Joel's a different character in the game. He's much more assertive in the game. In this, he's so passive. So when you're a passive character and you're saying, "Oh, we're really frightened of Joel," and that character is not displaying what they're telling us.
We just
I don't think it was very passive when he beat a man to death. I don't think that was passive.
That was a trigger mechanism because of flashback to his daughter.
We've only seen one episode. We have no idea what else he may do to whatever people. We haven't seen it yet.
Right, and we're only judging the one episode at this
That's
point.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have references to support that he could go nuts and kill people, and it seems to me that Robert said the only reason he didn't want to let Tess go was because he's afraid of what Joel might do.
Joel clearly has a reputation for being quite savage.
And then she has to calm Joel down in the conversation, and she says, we'll get something back. We'll sort it out. And then Joel says, no, we need the fucking battery. I need to get to my brother. And then she goes, okay, fine. We'll try. And like, that to me doesn't sound like he's taking her orders. That sounds like they're working together.
I think what might have made him, what might have been more useful to build him up as a more intimidating character was, particularly during that confrontation with the soldier just outside the perimeter, was rather than have him snap as a kind of emotional response to like having a traumatic flashback, was to have it be more of a conscious decision on his part of, I know that you're going to report this. I know that there's not really a way I can talk my way out of this situation. The only logical solution is I'm going to have to kill you. I think that would make him a bit more calculating. And a bit more intimidating because of that, because he's not ruled by emotion in that case. He's a stone cold killer, because that's the kind of man he's had to become based on the role he's taken on, the job that he does. But I mean, that's just my thought on that.
I think it'd be more in line with the character.
I want to hear what he has to say about that moment in the next episode. A lot of how I feel about this episode in terms of how things get contextualized could be dependent on future stuff, but I still think this is a good start for what we've seen of the characters too. As someone who played the game and quite likes the first one, fucking hates the second one.
I think, hopefully it's going to pan out fine from a dramatic point of view. I guess it sets a slightly worrying precedent that it seems like she's totally on board with him inflicting this kind of violence based on, I don't know, it might just be the actress's performance and what she's given in that scene, but it seems like she's all right with what he did. And it seems like he's the one who lost his cool. And I don't want to create a dynamic where, like, essentially he's the weak one emotionally throughout this and she's the strong one. Where I think the game developed a much more interesting arc where, like, they gradually change over the course of the story, where he's very intimidating and very gruff, and like he's just been put in charge of this child that he doesn't want to have to look after, and she's almost like resentful of him, but she's also kind of frightened of him at the same time.
But you can have Joel be that and still have him be like really emotionally reserved or even emotionally broken.
It depends. Yeah, you could in theory. I guess it just depends how it's implemented. Because I think if you have a situation where he's shown to regularly, like, say, have big emotional outbursts like that, where he attacks people and kills them, and she's the one who's essentially more in control of her emotions and seems to be, not intimidated necessarily by seeing a man kill another man right in front of her eyes. I don't know. It doesn't seem like such a good dynamic to work with.
Mm-hmm. I think IMDb has tests down for 5 of the 10 episodes, but we do know we do know that they are going to be working flashbacks in, and it looks like episode 3 is going to be essentially a flashback episode of Bob. So it's how they utilize the character of Tess. But
I have a suspicion that they're going to have her in longer than she was in the game.
Joel wasn't
it looks like she's in for a few episodes when she should barely not even make next episode hardly.
Yeah. Why should she not make this? Why should she not be in 5?
Because in the game she dies early.
So so we can't even do it because she died in the game early?
I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying if according to story, if they were going to stay on track with the story, that would be the case. But it looks like they're changing it, which could still work. I'm not saying it's automatically going to be a bad thing, but I am saying it's different for sure.
I think it worked well in the game because, as I said at the start, the game starts off at a frenetic pace, and you're like, oh my God, his daughter's dead. Then it's 15 years later in the game. Maybe 20. It's 15 or 20 years later. And Joel is not an emotional character.
Right.
That is not how he is at all. He's a stoic character. And the fact that he gets this job with Tess, and then Tess is immediately taken out of the game, again, throws you off kilter. And now he's lost somebody he trusts and supports. Is a support network to him. She's gone, and all he's got left is this little girl. And I think it adds a much better dynamic because he's completely out of his element now. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to bond with Ellie in the game. He doesn't want to bond with her. He's got no interest in that because he looks at her and he sees a girl that's roughly the same age as his daughter who died. And that's painful enough to him. So he doesn't want to form this bond. But they go through so much together without anyone else, so much together that it forces them together as a relationship develops between them. And then that relationship, that trust which is suddenly built up, turns into a paternal relationship. And that's the beauty of The Last of Us, of how it's such a simple but well-told story about family, about reconnecting. About protecting, your in this case, his surrogate daughter, as she turns out to be. Tess being there for too long, I fear will impact the relationship development between Joel and Ellie.
Could it have a positive impact?
Well, I mean, only time's going to tell on that.
Right.
That's why I want to wait.
But it works so well in the game.
Yeah, I think what you end up with is a cleaner narrative in the game when you've just got Joel and Ellie together, because the relationship between the two of them is the emotional heart of the game, and I assume it's going to be with the show as well. And so the longer you have a third element in there, like a third character, the more it doesn't impede it, but it stops it. You get into that point of exploring just that relationship between those two mismatched characters. And so, I don't know. It seems to make sense to kill Tess off in the next episode.
She
get
might
her out of the way and like make way for that. And yeah, I mean, it could be that that's what they do, and the rest of her appearances are just flashbacks to flesh out her relationship with Joel. In which case, fair enough, I guess.
I just think we should judge Tess's involvement once we've seen it.
Yeah. Well,
especially now
we can do. Really,
we're
throwing around ideas, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think we just have valid fears of Tess hijacking Joel's story too, because we do see hijacking of male character stories by their female side characters that turn into the main character. We've been seeing a lot more of that. And so I think it's a valid concern that maybe they're trying to do that in this case, but who knows? Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. Maybe they'll make it work, because Tess is a cool character, and I think most everybody loved Tess in the game. But yeah, we're just a little worried about how that could play out.
Well, I guess part of the thing is, like, is she cool in the game because you only get to see her for a short time? Like,
well, exactly.
You're left wondering, other things, like we might have wanted to know more about her. It's the unanswered questions that perhaps make characters like that interesting. Like Boba Fett from Star Wars. Who would ever wanted to see a TV show about him? But like we got it, and like it didn't really increase our liking of that character.
Show's great.
Well, we all know that, Rex. We all love Boba Fett.
I'm pretty sure we complimented the idea back in the day, real long ago. But oh god, we're going to regret that shit.
How times have changed. I was going to say as well about in the games, the fungus that infects people is just like an airborne spore, and so you go into buildings and stuff like that. You have to wear like a respirator to protect yourself from it. Now it's this weird thing that just kind of comes out of people's throats, and it's like functionally it's just like a zombie.
Flag gas.
Well, yeah. I was actually going to ask. I assume this time it gets everyone because it's in the food supply. Everyone's food is simultaneously being hit with all like the fungus is spread in that way, and that's how it gets everybody all around the world to some degree. And then I can't remember if that was how it did it in the game along with the spores, but they have wiped out the spores in this, which I don't think is a good idea. But I'm waiting to see if they can justify that choice. Because of course it reduces a lot of the dangerous aspects. It'll have to change a lot of bigger payoffs in the game, as everyone's familiar with. And like the zombies themselves right now, they're sort of, I don't know if the early versions are those runners with weird shit in their mouth, but we've seen from the trailer we're going to get the ones we're familiar with.
Right.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, we saw one briefly like underground. It was like fused into the wall somehow. So
yeah.
We kind of want to see, I guess, more of that. What was the other thing as well? It was like, the revelation about Ellie being immune to it. Like, that was quite a big revelation in the game, and I think it came a lot later, didn't it? But, like, here, it's just kind of blurted out in the middle of an action sequence, and I don't know, presumably there's a reason for that, but it felt like it ruined quite a big, like, revelation that should have come later on.
I think the next episode will probably begin with that discussion of how come the little reader, when you got tagged by the reader, how come it was red?
Yeah. Well, she explained, like Joel hears her explaining it. It's like, I got bitten like 3 weeks ago, and like I haven't turned into one of them. So like, she's
that's just to stop them from executing it, right?
Right on the spot. Yeah. Because they had to leave. I mean, there was the panic in the scene where the guy's dead, and they have to go, and the people are coming to get him, and they have to leave.
But what she's saying is true. Like that's what happened to her.
Which is what she should be saying.
They'll get more on that in next episode for sure.
That's what I'd be saying.
I wouldn't be surprised if the end of the next episode is how Tess dies. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. The payoff of the end of the next episode is Tess' death. Even with those 5 episodes in IMDb, that could be explained by flashbacks. Could also not.
Okay. Yeah.
Not sure.
I guess.
IMDb could be wrong, but that's what they're saying.
I don't know if this is as well the writers just acknowledging that most of the people that are watching this probably know the games at least and know what happens, so like it's not going to be a revelation for them. But yeah, I just felt like the sort of thing that I would have rather left until later in the story.
That's the thing, though, right? Like the first episode, they're trying to hook. From what I heard, they extended this episode to have the Joel and Ellie connection, so that they want people to realize what the hook of the show is: post-apocalypse, zombie infection. This guy lost his daughter a while ago. He's got a lot of almost PTSD to relate to that. A lot of issues that are going to come out. And then there's this little girl who's infected, but not a monster. That's the end. And it's just like, whoa, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah. Let's see where this goes.
Now, one positive thing I want to say, though, is the brother, Tommy. I liked him way better in the show than in the game. Even though he plays like a lot more of a side character type role, I thought he was great.
Coming out with that hot take, I think a lot of people hated him for what I saw, but I'm not sure.
Really? I think I just have opposite opinions on what most people do then, because I thought he was amazing in the show. I really liked him in the show. And in the game, I didn't dislike him in the game, but he just didn't stand out to me in the game.
Oh, anyone else? I thought he was fine.
I thought Diego Luna was. That's not Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looks a lot different. He is a lot different. I just happen to like him in the new version of him. Yeah.
Did not work.
All right then.
I don't think the casting in general is good. I don't think Bella Ramsey as Ellie's terrible casting. I'm not sold on Pedro Pascal. Diego Luna, Big Netty no. Tess,
I did like how Pedro Pascal didn't age a day in 20 years.
Hey, they added gray to
a little bit of salt.
Right?
A little bit of salt in there.
And the collapsed skyscrapers got more growth on them in the course of that 20 years. They aged worse than he did. It's been interesting just sitting here listening to the conversation because, again, having not played the game,
right,
I can tell that there are some really interesting story beats that people can invoke, and you're very keen to see where it goes in reference to that game or how it compares to that game. That's all interesting. I watched episode 1 and I didn't care. That was my main problem. I got the hook, which MauLer mentioned, which is the only thing that I really took away from the entire post-apocalypse sequence. It was the only thing that I sort of looked up from editing like version 15 of my Velma video. That's how disinterested I was. The hook, fine. I can see that they could do something with that. But for the rest of it, I mean, we've come up in an era where we've had, season 15 or whatever it is of The Walking Dead. We're not very far removed from 28 Days Later. We've had a lot of post-apocalyptic, bleak, zombie apocalypse style, even not zombie apocalypse, but bleak post-apocalyptica. And I watched episode 1 and I just tuned out basically the middle third because it was just more of that.
Yeah.
And without knowledge of where it might be going or where the characters might be going or what they might do or what the relationships might become or what the comparison will be, I didn't find it very interesting at all. And I'm wondering...
What do you think of the opening sort of sequence up to the death of the daughter?
That's probably my favorite bit. It's the only bit that sticks in the mind, but that's because it reminded me so much of other things that I could have been watching. So, like, I love that slow, passive build-up from the Day of the Triffids, and I like it in Shaun of the Dead, as I've mentioned. I think that's a really interesting thing. I think that was defeated. The object of it was defeated because the mystery that they were trying to build up had already been revealed in the pre-introduction. But that I think that was a good introduction to the characters. I think the death of the daughter did... It was affecting, it worked, it was paid off when you have Joel lose his mind a little bit later on. That, I think, all worked. That was good. That was the only bit I was consciously sort of very invested in. The rest of it, it was on TV. I watched it. I thought, yeah, it's high production value. The writing isn't abysmal. The characterization isn't terrible. Do I know who any of these people are by the end of this episode? Not really, with the exception of Joel and, no, basically just him. And do I really care where they're going? Not at the moment. It's not to say... I mean, I will carry on with it. I think there were a couple of interesting threads, not least that hook relationship with him and Ellie, which could be interesting. I do want to find out more about the world they're living in. The problem is everything they've so far told me about the world they're living in is something I've seen about 50 times before in different media. So wasn't very intriguing. But there's enough in there to get me to come back to it. I'm just not sold on it yet, really.
I think I'll agree on Ellie. I'm hoping that she gets better, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. What I will say is that I actually would go to bat for Tess a little bit. I quite liked the the way that she was trying to negotiate herself out of being killed
I like
in
that.
both scenarios.
Saying everything she needed to say, very competent and smart.
She comports herself in that of like, we're all chill, we all know what's going on. There's no need, like the logical thing to do here is to get on with everything, blah blah. While I believe that at the core she's terrified and that she's desperately trying to avoid a bullet to the head in both scenarios. I quite like what the actress did. Like I said, I think it was on Real BBC. I realized that she's from Mindhunter is what I've seen her on before. And I knew I recognized her. So I think she's doing a good job. And I think if they can get another full episode of good shit with her and Joel, that I'm gonna care when she kicks the bucket.
Well, I think she and Joel did pretty well in that scene where they're being held at gunpoint, and he's trying to negotiate the future stakes that he's going to give this guy and runs that he does. Like, I'll give you 50% of everything that I make from now on. And again, it's just stuff that you would say because you've got a gun pointed at your head, and it's like, I'll screw myself over financially if it means being alive to do it, So both of them kind of conducted themselves like, I guess, real people would in a situation like that. They don't just go in guns blazing, but...
And if I could say, I've got a huge expectation that this will tank because it wants to connect to The Last of Us 2. Like, it's inevitably going to tank.
That's my concern.
Yikes.
So, yeah, like... There is a thought in my head that like this is probably the best it'll get, but I'm waiting to see what happens next. Obviously, I want to give it a fair shake.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because I would be really interested to see how they handle the moral dilemma at the end of the game.
Yes,
that's the big concern that I also have.
Because I think if they were going to do this now in a TV show, they would paint Joel as the bad guy and being wrong for what he did, whereas it's much more grey in the game.
Exactly.
I'm very much Team Joel at the end of The Last of Us 1 game.
Yes,
me too.
Very much.
Joel
I have a feeling they're going to edit it so that it's much harder
too.
to be Team Joel by the end of this show. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's a shame, because it's like, imagine if it was genuinely presented as morally grey, and like, we're as a show, as a writing team, we're not going to try and force you down either road. We're going to let you make up your own minds about what you would have done in that situation.
That zebra scene, if that shows up in season 1, the whole thing's done.
Yeah, baby.
All right, shall we start the
giraffes.
poll? Will it be a real zebra
No,
or a CGI zebra?
the zebra from The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, the giraffe scene, I hope they have.
Wonderful man.
Well, it's a flashback, so we might get it here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can see them putting it in before we get the scene of the doctor dying to try and be like this. I can imagine Neil was like, "Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have had that in the first game. That would have made everybody like Last of Us Part 2."
I am convinced. I'm convinced we're going to have Abby.
I was just about to ask if you thought that would be the case.
Please, no.
I think Joel's going to kill the surgeon, and the surgeon this time is going to be like, "Please, I'm trying to save the world." Joel's just being like, and then he's going to pick up Ellie. He's going to run out, and then this woman, girl in a Cinderella dress is going to walk in and go, "Father, Father, I just fed the bunny rabbit. Where are you, Father?"
You missed the part.
Oh my God!
Where Joel runs out and he sees there's a building that says orphanage, and so he pops a grenade open and just throws it.
Fucking kids' body parts going everywhere.
If I can't have a daughter, no one will.
Running down the corridor.
This will be good after all.
Yeah. I would be. I'd be like,
I just worry with this actress that they've picked for Ellie. I mentioned it before, but like, so much of this series is going to hinge on our emotional connection to this character.
Yeah.
Feeling protective towards her, empathizing with her struggles. The moments where she has to step up and protect Joel because he's injured and he can't look after himself. Like, that's really impactful in the game. It works great because the character model and the voice actress are all fantastic. And if they've got an absolute dud of an actress to play Ellie, damn, this thing's going to fall on its arse. And it would be such a shame if that was the reason that it didn't quite connect.
Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker are making cameos in this at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be background, but they have character names, so maybe flashback, who knows? But they are going to make an appearance at some point in the show.
I did have another slightly game-related question, and that sort of the fall on its arse thing is the thing that really evokes it, which is that I spend more time in like the Star Wars fandom than this game. The only thing I really know about The Last of Us is the huge shitstorm that emerged after The Last of Us 2. That's all I know about it. In Star Wars, you will find people who will say, I'm not going to watch The Mandalorian, I'm not going to watch anything set before the sequel trilogy because we know where it's going, so what's the point? And I'm interested that I haven't heard a huge amount of that from people who really like The Last of Us, the video games, even though from what I understand, they feel roughly the same way about Joel as the Star Wars fans do about Luke Skywalker, in the sense that he was ruined, and it must inevitably going in that direction. So a lot of the conversation we've had so far is, well, is it tracking closely enough with the games? But surely at some point you're going to have to want it not to track closely enough with the games, otherwise you already know where it's going, and where it's going is shit, so why are you watching it?
I think there's that disconnect for people where they're like, I can appreciate this as long as it sticks to the plot of Last of Us 1, and the moment you start getting into Last of Us 2 territory...
ready to eject. Everyone's got their hand over that button. They're like, I'm ready.
I'm ready to watch Joel be changed. I'm ready to see the ending of The Last of Us 1 be altered so that it aligns more with Neil's wishes.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't happen. I really don't, because I like what I've seen so far. And it would be nice to have I want a show that is willing to stick pretty close to the actual game that it's based off of and do well and be received positively, because I think that'll have very positive influences. It's kind of like how I'm very glad to see that like Ragnarok be really well received. I want to set this idea and to have everyone see that a game that focuses a lot on characters and story can be beloved and make a lot of money. So we'll see what happens with this show, but I'm
is there a universe in which they could kill off Joel without pissing people off? Like, is there a way to tell that story without?
Well, if he dies heroically,
dying heroically is the key to that. Yeah.
When The Last of Us 2 was announced, I think there was a consensus among a lot of people that Joel will probably die in this one. But certainly not in the manner in which he was. Probably die at the end, protecting Ellie, and then The Last of Us 3 would be Ellie going on, if they were to do a Last of Us 3, of course.
That's the thing.
Ellie going on and she's now evolved and become the...
If we found out there's a group of people who want revenge on Joel for past deeds, they're not even specific about it, at the beginning of Last of Us 2, a group of Tommy, Ellie, several other people, friends, family and stuff, and there's just this contrived scenario where a horde of zombies are coming, and on the other end of a door there's all of the people trying to kill Joel, and he just realizes, like, if I drive those people into the zombies myself, I'm dead, but I will save all of you. If they did that in the opening fucking half an hour of Last of Us 2, would have gone over way better. People being like, oh man, we're not going to get Joel for the rest of the game, but at least he went out like a full-on hero, in line with his character, caring about the people, he loves them, that sort of thing. Because I was going to say something of a almost cultural conflict that's happening for this game, considering the history of The Last of Us 2, is, man, as fucking gamers, as fucking fans of video games, how long has it been since we've had any kind of adaptation where we're like, oh wow, that vaguely looks like the game? Like, that's crazy.
MauLer, clearly you're forgetting Resident Evil on Netflix.
I
thought that was spot on.
I sometimes want to remind people, like, we've been having video game adaptations for what, like 2 decades, maybe more, that are just terrible. Like, it's a famously known thing. Like, you can't adapt video games. Like, you can, but nobody ever cares to stick to the source. They never do.
You didn't like a zombie on fire walking into the Raccoon Police Department while an Indian Leon Kennedy sat behind the counter with a Walkman on to the song Crush being played loud. Holy shit. If you haven't seen that, that's something to behold.
And so, with this show coming out, there are people who are like, oh my god, this kind of looks like the game. This is amazing. I haven't seen this before. And then they're like, hey, fucking parents, old fogies, you can now like the thing that I like because it's in the format you're familiar with. But this
First episode, MauLer.
I know, of course. I want it. That's what I'm implying is happening as a cultural clash. People are like, this is so cool, but by the time we hit episode 5 or whatever, it could be that the show is absolutely awful. It could be.
I mean, this is. I want it to be good. I want it to be successful because I want to prove that video game adaptations can be done. Like, this can work. And like, I know Arcane did it, but like,
Okay, a lot of people
let me help you out on that one.
It's
not the same.
as a League of Legends enjoyer, Arcane fans, you have to admit that doesn't look like League of Legends, and they've changed a shit ton from League's lore. They respect it. That's totally true. They take in a lot of the core characteristics from a lot of characters in the lore, but almost all the fans of League, including some of the most passionate ones I know, are like, League's lore is cringe. It's really great that they adapted it so well. This is different.
But with this is like a relatively grounded game in the first instance anyway. And so, like, if you can make a good adaptation of this from something that was really mainstream, people are really aware of it, and it's like, yeah, okay, we've proven that it can be done. It can be done as a TV show, and it works. And, you know, certainly initially, like, they've got some good actors. It seems to be well shot. It seems to stick fairly well to the story of the games. The aesthetics look good. It's got good production values behind it. All the pieces are there. They can make this work. I just hope that they do.
I would just be really concerned in the sense that what we're saying is it will be great if the show sticks very closely to the game right up until the point at which the game becomes shit. Then we want the show to diverge massively from the game.
Yes,
that's a big ask.
Because what you're really asking for there is for the studio to listen to the audience. And how often does that happen?
Yeah, if they stick one-to-one with everything that happens in both games, the show is doomed. It's absolutely doomed.
I just wanted to say as well, I know this is a slight diversion, but like whatever like anti-aging regime that Joel is on, I want some of that because he aged 20 years and barely changed. Like,
granted, he looked way older than 36 when he said he was 36. I think that was the secret, was just look old
to get the lie done, to tell the lie up front.
Yeah, the reality is like Pedro Pascal. I think he's in the middle. Is he not like mid-40s or something?
The idea that he's 56, I'm just like, man, was he that old in the game? It's just he does a lot of action-packed stuff, you know?
Isn't there a 10-year gap in the game? So it starts off in 2013.
Yeah, MauLer, how old is Kratos?
Like 1,000, I've heard.
Oh, yeah,
he's a god, though.
Once again.
Being a god probably helps, yeah.
I think Joel was meant to be around 50 in the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, there's a lot of stuff.
Sam Fisher in Splinter Cell was in his 50s, too, I believe. So it you know,
but he looked pretty haggard in the games, like particularly when you see him in the second one. Like he looks old, like whereas this it's just like he just looks like Pedro Pascal with some slight like fake gray in his hair.
I am a supporter of old man strength. I love it. I love my older characters whacking.
Yeah, I agree.
In fact, you know,
I want to see more of it.
Weirdly specific reference. Did anyone Drinky? You must have seen $1 Million Baby, right?
Yes.
When Morgan Freeman punches Falcon in the face.
Yeah, that was quite satisfying.
That was pretty awesome, yeah. And he's like a million years old at that. So
yeah, but well, I mean, I think as well, like we're sitting here, like, and it's almost like we're implying, like, well, you get to your mid-50s and you just become this like frail twig of an old man.
Oh yeah,
you know, I'm sure there's plenty of like ripped guys in their 50s. Out there.
Oh yeah, my dad is in his 60s and just super like muscular and strong, like army vet. So it's definitely possible.
I didn't mean to offend person of age.
Oh no, it's it's fine.
We'll call it wiser people. It's okay.
You know what? When I was like in my mid-20s, I was like, God, imagine turning 40. Like you must be so old at that point.
I remember in my early 20s, and a guy who worked with was 34, and I was like, fucking old fucker.
Perspectives do shift over time.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Nerdrotics in chat. Hi.
Speaking of old.
Speaking of old broken men in their 50s.
Thing is, Gary doesn't drink or anything, so like he looks younger than he is. Son of a bitch. I am.
I thought alcohol was a preservative.
Well, it is in certain cases.
Unfortunately, it pickles you. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Joel wasn't pickled enough.
He wasn't. Yeah, you should have drunk more. But yeah, this I don't know. Overall impressions of Last of Us. It seems like it's a guarded yes from us.
And I would say the first episode's good, but I'm worried.
Yeah.
Not because
I think
of what I
should be.
think will happen, but what I know can very much potentially happen. I think this is a pretty darn good start, and later episodes will absolutely influence what we think of it more so than many shows. I think could have done far worse.
Yeah, it definitely could have. I think the fact that it's got present day Neil Druckmann heavily involved in it is
that's a
my big
massive
it's not
negative.
A name that I like to see. I don't like to see that name.
Yeah, he's not going to want to undermine part 2 of his grand creation. So yeah, I can kind of see where this might be going, and that is worrying. I don't like that.
He claims that he solely wrote the first game. I'm not convinced that's true at all. Whereas the second game, he did completely right. I do believe that he did that very much.
It's like what we talked about.
Do want to remind people there is no one singular state of the quality of a writer, right? It's not like they are constant, and so it has to be either that he's good or bad. I always bring up Ridley Scott. He made the best and worst Alien movie, as far as I'm concerned.
True.
So, the idea here being that maybe Neil was better as a writer back when he was involved in Last of Us 1. I can believe that. I can believe he's been completely twisted into this insane level of storytelling that he's doing now. Perfectly reasonable to me.
I mean, it tends to be. It tends to go down that path, though, doesn't it? Like, the older they get, the more power they get, the worse they get at what they do. Because there's no one there to, like, call them out on it.
James Cameron's another really good example. James Cameron did pretty good, mostly story-driven action. And then
James Cameron gave us Terminator 2 and
Terminator
Aliens?
Dark Fate.
Yeah.
And Terminator...
Well,
not Dark Fate. No, I'm talking to... Who am I thinking
James Cameron didn't write Dark Fate, as far as I know, but he approved of it.
I think he had,
I'm mixing them up
Well,
with,
I think he had story input, didn't he?
He had influence in it, which is fucking disastrous. Why the hell would the person who headed Terminator 1 and 2 have fucking anything to do with Dark Fate?
Well, he came out publicly several times and said that he did, and
that's what I'm saying.
And then subsequently came out and said the main problem was that it was written to be more like his Terminator films than the modern Terminator films and the way they should be, which is terrible. But on that point earlier about how it goes in progression, as they get older and more powerful, they get worse. James Cameron's excuse for something like Avatar, when the studio was hesitant on that, was I made Titanic. It's like, well, okay, then fine. That means anything you do in the future must therefore be brilliant. Fantastic. Well done, James.
Avatar 2 has nearly made $2 billion, right?
Don't even get me started.
Well, it made money, so it must be great.
Now name a character.
That blue dude.
We
I love that guy.
Genuinely scratching our heads on this one, because obviously loads of people are seeing it. Fucking nobody is talking about it. No one has anything to say about this movie.
Boots than
Puss in Boots was legit. It was amazing.
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
it is the best movie I've seen in theaters in years. So good.
Oh my god!
The panic attack scene, and that was really well done.
It was.
Oh, it's better in Velma though.
Well, no, MauLer, that was us.
Velma.
We were having the panic attack.
Yeah. I didn't mean to imply he couldn't have had anything to do with it because of having made the first two. I mean, it's fucking disastrous that he had anything to do with Dark Fate, and it makes me sad. And it makes me feel like nobody should be in charge of Terminator anymore. Leave it die.
Give it like 20 years and then maybe try again, or just let it die. I don't even know.
George Lucas is the classic example of this, ideas man who gets way too much power and influence behind him. And it's like, he had a lot of people helping him out with the original trilogy, competent directors working on the movies. Then he came to do the prequels, and it's like everything was on him. He had no one to rein him in. He had basically as much money as he wanted, and he was doing it all himself. And there was no one there to curb his ridiculous impulses. And so you ended up with the prequels. And it's the same problem with Neil. Like, he had the massive success of Last of Us 1, came to work on Last of Us 2. There was no one there to hold him back because, he produces, award-winning, multi-million-dollar selling games. And he just was allowed to produce his ultimate vision, which was horrible.
But, Joel is sitting pretty with Luke, with Han, with all the rest of them. Just
so many. Soon to be joined by Indiana Jones, I'm sure.
Force Ghost in Last of Us 3.
Yeah.
Played his guitar at the finale.
What if it's just the guitars?
If you want to describe The Last of Us 2 as a game, a girl has her finger bit off so she can't play the guitar. That's The Last of Us Part 2.
No.
It's like, fuck you for liking things.
The song she chose to play was like "Take on Me" as well.
"Take on Me" by Aha.
God, I was quite happy to see her fingers get bitten off in that case and shuts her up.
That is a number one. That is a fucking great tune, sir. Yeah. How dare you?
The song is
not played on an acoustic guitar.
No,
it's not.
Well, that's why they had "Take on Me" as the music for The Last of Us in one of the trailers, because she plays "Take on Me."
It's actually a really
it's like
really
poetry.
clever.
It rhymes.
Yeah, because the song "Take on Me" was written by Aha, which is a very subtle, clever reference to Neil Druckmann laughing at you.
We get it.
By the way, check out "Sun Always Shines on TV." Amazing. Also, "I Wish I Cared" by Aha. Aha, great group.
Nice.
Wow.
No, I want you to. Yeah, you
check, please. Check, por favor.
We had a laugh. We had a laugh at Velma. We kind of sort of praised and questioned Last of Us, but I have a more sobering piece of news for all of you guys, especially gamers out there.
You really
the tragedy that
make us all upset. How could you?
I'm sorry. Frosk is leaving the gaming industry.
Oh no!
May I read?
Urine.
That's so sad. Oh no!
She prepared a fantastic statement on Twitter here, and I will read it out to you if you will indulge me for a few seconds. I've been angry for a long time with my peers for not using their power and voice to stand up for others in the industry. God.
Before you even finish, is this going to be like one of those rephrasing the leaving to be like, I'm doing this as a power move, or I'm leaving because I'm upset with them, or something like
leaving
that?
the industry.
Yeah.
That enough.
The industry didn't leave her. She left
I
it.
quit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll read the rest, and I'll allow you to form your own opinions. So I had to come to some hard terms that people who I'd known for years, who I thought were good friends, just weren't. Devastated me for a long time. Not as much as it devastated us, Frosk. Anyway, I am leaving the industry. I found new work elsewhere.
No.
This industry is really messed up, and what happened to me and plenty of others wasn't fair. Well, and it could have been avoided if we had all stood up together. You let me down, but I get why. Cheers.
You let me
and
down.
Good luck.
It's just missing the hashtag Gamergate, and then it would have been perfect.
I think she learned a big lesson that most of these people who are virtue signaling in the gaming industry don't believe two craps what they're saying.
Nah, they don't
and
give a
so when
fuck.
it comes to actually backing it up, they don't, because they don't even believe in it. They care more about clout than actually standing for something. But I'll give her credit. She actually believed in what she was saying, even though it was a crap take. She actually believed in it and saw it through, but most people don't.
Melonie, it's like, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least she was consistent.
In which case, it's the careers of your co-workers. Sacrifice all of them.
I don't think she believed it for 1 second. I think the whole speech was a deflection. Because she got absolutely roasted about her PlayStation opinion.
Is true.
And she threw her colleagues under the bus in that speech by revealing, I don't write this. I get it given to us. We don't have the time. You don't have the time to do your fucking job. We don't have the time. So Adam and me, I'll put him in the shit as well. Adam and me get written it for us by. Oh, she just threw everyone. It's everything with Frosk. It's never her. She's never the problem. It's never me. It's someone else. Her defining moment wasn't just that speech. It was when her colleagues were fired and she went, "Well, I survived."
Well, yeah,
that was a low point for sure.
Yeah.
What an absolute miserable. She probably watches Velma.
She probably helped write Velma.
The thing is she could have just. Sometimes you got to take the L in life in general. Sometimes you got to take the L. It's fine. Like, I've done so much video game hosting before I got blacklisted for my opinions on things. But back when I was doing stuff, every once in a while, especially anytime I've had a script that I had to read off of, I'd be wrong on something, and people point it out, and I'm like, oh wait, you're right. I was wrong on that. I'm gonna try to do better next time. Just take the L sometimes. People will respect it so much more.
She's the Brad Pitt of lesbicans, Javid. You know that?
Did you just say Javid?
Javid, yeah. I thought I'd mesh both his names together, you know?
It's weird because it's like so many of the people connected with G4 have just been outed as like horrible human beings. Like Adam Sessler, he's like Movie Bob but better looking. Like
better looking than Movie Bob. What?
Wow,
that's a low bar.
Wow, jeez.
That same level of just absolute hatred for humanity. It's like, damn, what turned you into this? Like, how did you go from like a normal person to this?
It's not good for your mental health. You need to take a break.
It is a genuinely weird dynamic, though, that's at play in the sense that gamers are probably the most, to use the terms, based, and nevertheless, games journalists in particular and games developers in large parts are some of the most woke, again, to use an inadequate term, people imaginable. There's this huge culture clash, which it's really acute in gaming. I think more acute in gaming than in many other industries, to the point where now someone like Frosk will complain about a supposed movement against her and against what she stands up for. The biggest, most overt politicized movement in gaming that I've seen is against Hogwarts Legacy, for example, at the moment, and that's coming from her side, ostensibly. When you get entire cadres of people going onto Steam, giving it tags like genocide simulator, capitalism, like all the things that make me want to play the game more. That's an astonishing turn. But not a word, not a peep from these people about the overt politicization of games journalism. Was it Screen Rant or one of? No, it wasn't Screen Rant. It was one of the games. Kotaku? It might have been Kotaku. Anyway, there was a think piece published by one of their jobbing reporters a couple of months. Think in inverted commas. I think it was a piece. I think it was about a month ago on Hogwarts Legacy, talking about Hogwarts Legacy from a site which is paid to promote, in large part, Hogwarts Legacy, because it will take a commission from any sales generated from clicks generated by their website, which is about 3,000 or 4,000 words of someone going on about abstruse, abstract, and obscure research into the state of trans people in the United States, United Kingdom, Brazil. It's all about how J.K. Rowling's political opinions are so beyond the pale because she thinks women might deserve their rights that you can't possibly buy the game, because buying the game is tantamount to endorsing, effectively, violence, if not genocide. That's an astonishing thing for a games journalistic outlet to publish. I was a journalist. I've worked at newspapers. The newspaper I worked at was, I think, significantly more reputable than a games outlet. But how these people expect to maintain public trust as news outlets for something about which they are so clearly propagandizing is really quite extraordinary. Hogwarts Legacy, I hope, will do incredibly well. It seems to be performing very well in pre-sales, which suggests these people have minimal reach, but it will take down companies because these people are so divorced from the audiences they're supposed to be informing. And that will be bad for the many good reporters who work at these places who actually try and report the news in gaming and actually try and do a good job, who will lose their jobs as a result of their outlets just going down the rabbit hole.
I wouldn't
so few and far between, though.
Wouldn't underestimate their reach. I've never had a game more marketed to me in my life than Hogwarts, whatever the fuck it's called at this point. I've just been like, I never stopped.
The Goblin Rebellion.
Simulator.
It makes me wish I gave a shit about Harry Potter. In which case, I would buy this game just to piss off those sanctimonious assholes. But like,
I bought it. I know nothing about Harry Potter.
Exact same. I pre-ordered it. I've only watched 2 of the movies. That's it.
Same.
It's reinvigorated my interest in the franchise, which has died about 10 years.
The one that got me was because I kept hearing about how awful the game is, right? And then I saw this like huge angry rant about there's this thing in the game, I guess, I don't even know, right? That apparently when the boys or the girls try to go to the equivalent dorm room, the stairs will turn into a slide and push you back out. And then I just saw this fucking rant that was like, do not support this game. They have a transphobic staircase.
Yes.
But you can still
This is where I draw the line.
You can make your character male, essentially, but call it female. So that's still kind of, I don't know.
Don't go up the stairs. Just don't go up the stairs.
Isn't it baffling that this is where we're at in the video game industry? This is the overriding point of like conversation. Like, well, how does the game deal with transgender characters? Like, for the average person out there, who gives a fuck? Like, why does this even matter? What has this got to do even remotely with the game that you're playing?
If you guys weren't shrieking 24/7, people would probably not care.
The crazy question I had when I kept hearing about it, I was like, is it an RPG? What even is this game? It's like, I don't even. Hello? Like,
I don't know.
What are the mechanics in this game? Hello.
It's a GPG.
I don't even know what a Snugglepuff is.
Look, if you play that game and you choose Hufflepuff, just.
Oh, Hufflepuff.
Look, what
okay.
what are you even doing?
That's what I'm doing.
Oh my god! Who chooses Hufflepuff?
On all the quizzes,
Ravenclaw,
I always get
baby.
Hufflepuff, so I'm like, okay, I'm
What
just
a
gonna be the most
loser.
chaotic Hufflepuff imaginable.
It's funny, like one of my friends, like he's quite an affable chap, you know, a bit of a people pleaser, and one of the other guys in the group said something like, you know, if I had to pick you in a house in Harry Potter, you'd be a Hufflepuff. And he was fucking furious about this.
Don't you ever call me a goddamn Hufflepuff.
I'm a Ravenclaw, goddammit.
I need to take this quiz. I need to find out what I am.
I love the Slytherin now. It's just like,
I'm
you're
curious.
evil.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
But you legitimately get pieces now in games outlets which say, why does the House of Slytherin even still exist, J.K. Rowling? Isn't it basically Nazi? Well, I think you've slightly missed the point there, reporter.
We forgot the lore where Hitler was put in Gryffindor when he went to the school years back.
No, he wanted to be in Gryffindor and was rejected, and that's why he turned evil.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well I'll go to art school instead.
Slytherin art school.
Yeah. Oh, it's well.
Finally got a big AAA level blockbuster Harry Potter game, and I guess they're just really unhappy about it.
Dude, there are so many people who just want to grill and enjoy the Harry Potter.
Transphobe, what? I just want to cast the spells. Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah,
I just want a little stick with the sparkle effects coming out of it. Leave me alone.
I just want to suppress the goblins in their rebellion. That's all I want to do, okay?
I think
I'm British. This is my wand.
Oh, there you go.
Got a license for that.
But I think the big thing here is people who roll over and let people on the internet tell them they can't stream or play a game that they want to play because of whatever reason. That's just a bad principle to set, and you're just you're just going to make things worse for yourself. They're going to want to control you more and more and more. If they can tell you what game you can or can't play, well, who's to say they won't do this for whatever other game in the future? So play it, let them cancel you, get it over with.
Well, imagine if like people genuinely watch this. Like, you know, I was really excited to play this game, but some random prick on Twitter made a video saying that I shouldn't do it because it would make me literally Hitler if I bought this game. And so I'm not.
Literally,
they're giving this game a lot of power for wanting to hate it so much.
There was someone on Twitter who said, I used to work at the Harry Potter theme park.
Yes.
And I sold the merchandise and I did this and that. And I'm telling you that if you buy this game, it's harmful. And someone, I think, underneath did point out, this is like someone at Auschwitz, a guard at Auschwitz saying, look, I worked here, but you shouldn't actually buy the damn thing. Because
don't get the merchandise for Auschwitz.
Yeah, the Auschwitz had a gift shop.
Remember, stop by the gift shop on the way out.
I've seen so many.
Wait a minute, his gift shop looks like a fucking oven. What the fuck?
How come
Just get in.
How come nobody's buying from the gift shop? Are they buying? Oh.
There are moral standards everywhere for whether or not you should play, and I've seen people trying to work their way around it. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Hassad was like, "I will stream it, and the proceeds will go to charity."
I've seen that too.
It's like, wait, well, hang on. Like, how does any of this work? Of course, everyone's infighting all over it. It's just insane. It's a fucking Harry Potter game. How has this happened?
Well,
I'm gonna play it, stream it, and I'm gonna buy some extra copies for Steam. And I'm just going to drop codes in the chat every so often.
There you go.
I would love to take a gamer from like the 1990s and bring them forward into the present day and just show them this and be like, this is what the gaming industry is now. This is what people argue over.
Yep.
And just watch them melt down.
They'll go back and start gatekeeping. Send them back. Let them gatekeep the future, please.
There's not even entertaining the idea of talking about whether or not it's source accurate or whether or not it has like good mechanics, whether or not there's bugs in it, whether or not it's like none of that. None of it. Nobody has time to talk about that. It's just whether or not this trans staircase will get you.
Well, I mean, the message it sends to video game companies is that you want to be transphobic as fuck because it'll make your sales explode.
Yeah.
Well, so this is,
that's the message I'm getting.
we brought this up on I think the Real BBC, right? You compare to the Velma stuff where they're like, stop talking about it, you're going to improve viewership. It's like all the talk about Velma is how awful the quality is. Everything. It's the equivalent of saying a game is filled with bugs, that it treats you like shit, that it's not worth the money that you should have. The conversation about Hogwarts is like, it's transphobic, and so a lot of people are like, well, but is it good? Like, how good is the mechanic? How good are the game? And it's gonna bring people attention to this thing.
There is absolutely nothing transphobic about a game which lets you choose your gender and play as that character. It's not transphobic. It isn't.
What about the staircase?
No, because there's only two genders.
The staircase? What about the staircase? What about the
staircase's opinion is what determines whether or not the game is transphobic. When if anything, it's just like I don't know. Listen, I just feel like the people who built Hogwarts were probably a long time ago.
They had staircase points of view.
They have It's like Grandpa, when he says a few words, and you're just like, oh, Grandpa, that's just Grandpa. He grew up in the 1930s. It was just a different world.
The same staircase turns into a slide.
Unironically, I believe the game is actually set in old people times. The game
Maybe
is
one of the
actually a
staircases is
historical
racist
game.
as well, and that needs to be cancelled.
I can't believe they started letting the blacks into Hogwarts. Back when I was built, we wouldn't have dared done that.
Staircase actually gets cancelled, and they put
staircases need to do better.
It just starts directing the black people to the wrong places to get them lost.
Can we have a meme? Can we have a meme of Black Falcon pointing to a staircase, going, "You gotta do better."
They need alternatives. They need to install ladders and elevators. The staircase.
Well, it's got the best comeback for him as well when he says, "You need to step up," and the staircase can be like, "No, you need to step up."
Honestly, not
slide down.
The game is genuinely set in the 1800s, so you could have all of this stuff.
Wow,
not that you would have picked that up from any of the coverage from the game, because nobody damn mentions the game.
It would be so funny if it all is in the game, but no one cares because the trans stuff overshot it. Like nobody talks about the hyper racist.
Never mind being racist. You'd be looking around there going, sure as there's a lot of women around here.
Yeah, are you telling me that they didn't have transgenderism in the 1800s, MauLer? Because that's itself a transphobic statement.
There's a lot of women and Irishmen in Hogwarts lately, I've noticed. Not sure as a staircase how I feel about this.
The staircase's Twitter account will be cancelled.
What's one of my Indian colonial colonies doing here? Get out of it, mate.
Well, you have to wonder, like, with all these people that are so outraged about a game like this, like, what would it take to make them genuinely happy in a game? Like, what would
all the
they
people involved in this game to be destitute on the streets? That's what makes me happy.
Everybody's gay. Everybody's trans. They'd still argue about the percentage of represent. Why is it only 90% trans? Why isn't it 96%? What do you mean 96? Why isn't it this? Why isn't it that? You can't. There's no negotiating with these fucking weirdos. There's no
problem for them too is that these are the same kind of people that will tell you like you need to support the workers in all facets of life and stuff. And so a lot of people are like, well, a lot of people worked really hard on this game. I want to support them. And they're like, no.
Only support the workers that we deem necessary.
Yeah, especially if a union of game devs and artists made this, really put them in that catch-22. I want to see what they do. Well, I suppose the real test for the industry is going to be if IGN and Kotaku and all of these sites, right, on their websites, if they are ever going to do any advertising for this game.
Yeah.
If there's one banner ad, if there's one pre-order now,
or
if there's
one review,
if there's anything like this, if they have any of that, then
the long think piece I mentioned earlier, the long essay about how J.K. Rowling is transphobic, therefore the game is transphobic, had a link to the Steam store version of Hogwarts Legacy, which they got a commission from if anyone bought it there. So.
Oh, wow.
Well, there you go.
No publicity is bad publicity here.
This game's terrible. Don't buy it and give me some coffers.
It's like, oh no, don't click on that link that I've helpfully provided. Please. No.
I provided a link just so that you know what the link looks like and you don't click on it. So you know what links to avoid. We've included them in the description.
But with Silent Hill 2 remake, they they put some very fluffy language around it.
Yeah.
And they basically said, this game's been updated for modern sensibilities.
Yeah.
It's going to be less scary. We're going to take away some of the horror factor in a horror game.
Yeah.
You're not going to get those nurses anymore
we
either.
Have changed, I think the way they phrased it was, this isn't verbatim, but we have changed areas of the game to be more consistent with a modern something or other.
And,
so that
yeah. The modern audience, the modern audience aren't gamers. That's period.
Who the fuck is the modern audience? They don't exist. They're a fucking dragon.
They've never existed.
It's a unicorn. It's not real.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Well, do they think? I forget. In the Harry Potter universe, can only virgins see unicorns?
Wait, what?
Because that's the classic unicorn mythology. Is that only a virgin can see the unicorn?
They slightly tweaked it in that only people who had seen death could see the death horses, which is basically the same mechanic, but without the sex element.
Because I think that they would
be very happy about that.
Well, only necrophiles can see the death horses.
Oh no!
But
oh no!
Because I wonder, is that a problematic thing to have a creature that only virgins could see? Is that a? I'm sure it's problematic.
Yeah, well, you're slut shaming people. You can't do that.
Yeah,
the necrophile one. It's like you look at one of your friends, like, "You see a horse there?" And he's like, "No." I don't see anything. What do you mean?
He randomly walks around it. He's like, "Why'd you do that?" No reason. No reason.
I don't
I just wanted to go over there for a moment.
Stop running into that unicorn.
Don't know what you're talking about.
I don't see anything. You guys are racist.
Wow.
That's fucked up.
Did you see that staircase? It kicked somebody out.
Can't believe the Grandpa Weasley was denied access to Hogwarts.
I think the fact that people are mad that a staircase won't allow boys in a girl's restroom is really telling.
Oh, that's what that's what it should be. It should be a women's restroom at the top. And the staircase just kicks all the men down.
It's just making me realize, like, all those paintings they have of super old people and stuff. It's like they probably should say some pretty harsh and
really racist stuff. All the black students walking around, and some of them, the gay students.
We don't want your sort around here.
I remember when
used
this used to be a respectable school.
This is a local school for local people.
Oh, look, David, that person's shirt seems to be very long. Must be lifted very high if they want to tuck it in, if you know what I mean.
Hide those ankles.
And then you have to wonder about all the horrible things that happen to those paintings. Students just pissing on them or something for them when they're drunk.
We're gonna go piss on the racist painting on the third floor.
This is why I don't like you.
Oh, the yellow menace. Oh.
When they try to report it, they're like, it's kind of existentially horrifying that I'm stuck in this painting getting pissed off. It's not something I prefer.
Wait, can't they go between
all I can see
frames?
Is the same walls like day in and day
frames,
out.
Right? The characters.
Well, Simon Pegg, ultra fucking lefty, defender of She-Hulk, white knight of woke Hollywood, playing the headmaster, and now he's getting shit. Yeah, it's now a woke on woke crime because he's getting shit from people going, "Oh my god, how can you work for an open transphobe?" I'm like,
Expect another really awkward car video from Simon Pegg in the near future.
Simon just comes out and says, "Man, I got a paycheck from Disney, so it doesn't fucking matter at this point, does it?"
Yeah, I'll say whatever you want me to say.
It's his publicist, which is running his Twitter account, and it just literally says, "Simon Pegg will be playing the headmaster," and then people below just put, "Thanks, Simon's publicist."
Should we do a few super chats?
Do it.
We've got a little bit of time at the end of this. All right. Waylon Pacephus said, "Might as well wish myself a happy birthday since no one else will." Well, in that case, you're wrong, sir, because we're all going to wish you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Waylon.
Yeah, good
Hope
job.
you're having a great day, man.
Live the year.
There we go.
I don't.
The Departed or Goodfellas for Scorsese's best film? What do you reckon? Hope you gents have a good one.
Scorsese's best. Whoa.
I like Casino. Isn't Casino Scorsese?
We've only got these two to choose from.
Sorry,
stop trying to bend the rules.
All right.
Wait, what were the two?
The Departed or Goodfellas?
Oh fuck! Well, the thing about it is, I've heard that isn't Departed mostly it's an adaptation,
Mark
right?
Wahlberg yelling at people.
No, I was going to say it's an adaptation of I forget the name of the other thing that it's based on, but I'd probably go with Goodfellas. I haven't seen that in a while though. I need to rewatch them both, to be honest with you.
I think I'd be inclined towards Goodfellas. I just seem to have better memories of it.
I'm breaking the rules, Casino.
You son of a bitch!
I break all the rules.
If you have two options, then always pick the third, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
There's a two-parter here from Chucksenhausen. So, part one. As I love the improvement in your health and overall sensual being. You're looking awesome. I can see it on one of...
being?
Yeah. I can see it on one of the live streams.
I'm going with it.
That you're doing great, and then suddenly you'll start to grunt. Go with me on this one. Before turning off your camera. 2 minutes later, it's back on, and you look flushed but extremely satisfied. You say that you're fine, then we see a lady in the background that looks a bit like Chrissy Meyer, and now we understand. Cheers, you absolute legend.
Wow.
I mean,
Chrissy is flying over to the UK
New Zealand.
for 38 seconds of loving.
Why not?
You're being generous there with that 38.
I think she's getting the short end of the stick there, literally.
Sex
jokes, don't you love them?
I see no unicorn.
Let's stop this. Hey, let's not let this devolve into an episode of Velma. All right.
Rags it can't. We're all over fucking 15.
Where's the cockroaches?
If this were an episode of Velma, you'd have to begin every joke with "in teen dramas." This always happens, even though it never does.
God, more flashbacks.
I'm not familiar with teen dramas. I cannot confirm nor deny what they assert to be the tropes of them. So I don't know.
They're not tropes. Just no.
Run.
Don't do it. Hail Drinker and team, deploy the inflatable autopilot, mate, because surely it's time that you reviewed Airplane, and I'll stop calling you Shirley. Also, dodge, duck, dip, dive, and drink, and then do a review of Dodgeball. Do it for Patches, and Chuck Norris will give you a thumbs up.
Whatever day you do Airplane is the wrong day I picked to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah. Both of those are good recommendations, I would say. Remember when movies were fun? I remember.
No.
Too long.
Stephen Bobo says, this question is directly towards MauLer. So, MauLer, since you find the absolute truth in fictional media, have you ever thought about doing power scaling versus discussions like Death Battle?
Like putting I don't know, John Halo versus John Metroid or something, and seeing who would win. I guess. Yeah. Fun things like that. Of course. The only thing about it is a lot of those discussions will end with it depends who gets the first shot, or it depends who gets the jump on the other one, because a lot of these characters will kill each other dependent on that. And then the other problem you have is Alex Mercer prototype versus Uncharted Nathan Drake. You're like, why would you even put those two? There's no point. Nathan's dead.
You would need a broadly similar category, like I don't know, RoboCop versus the Terminator or something, and then just I don't know, some kind of rating scale rather than a fictional battle. So
if you had Lara Croft versus Nathan Drake, you'd be like, this is a lot you can do.
That's been done. Superpower beatdown.
There's a pretty good movie of that.
Bob Ross versus Mr. Rogers. Two characters fighting it out.
Velma versus She-Hulk.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, it'd be like Rey versus Galadriel, right? Like, who's winning that?
Oh, yeah.
Who's the plot going to allow on that one?
The universe would explode. There's just too much awesomeness in one place.
There's no universe. But they both won. They both won.
Yes, they both won.
Both amazing.
They both won.
Yes.
Question from Kevin O'Neill says, never played Last of Us, so I'm going to just see if it's a good show. No major complaints about the first episode, but goddamn, Bella Ramsey, what's wrong with your face?
Wow.
Yeah. It's just a bit out of proportion. I can't really pin it down to anything specific. It's just all the eyes, the nose, the mouth, they're just not quite where they should be. It's weird.
Weak link.
He also says, Drinker and Panel, if you're looking for something different in the zombie genre, then allow me to recommend 2006's Fido by Andrew Curry. It's a unique and charming take on a post-zombie world. Fair enough. I don't know much about it.
Neither do I.
Taker610 says, Drinker, what is the most offensive Scottish stereotype? Groundskeeper Willie or a certain character from Austin Powers? You mean fat bastard? Neither of them are offensive because they're both 100% true. That's what every Scottish person's like.
I got a turtle head poking out. Oh, wonderful. Hey, Rags, you'll finally be able to experience all of Fat Bastard.
That's right. That's right. Soon.
I am gutted. I'm not going to be part of that.
It would take a very long time to experience all of Fat Bastard, but yes.
It would, but it'd be worth time well spent, I would say. Also, MauLer, where is Jupiter Ascending on the list of upcoming EFAP movies?
So that would be... Possibly would try and make that as part of the Wachowski, theoretical Wachowski arc, right? They've made a lot of crazy cringe films, maybe, because that's Jupiter Ascending is one of the more famous ones, I think. But that could be done on its own too. I haven't actually seen it. I've seen clips and it looks insane. Wasn't that the one they did soon after Matrix? I say soon.
No, I think it was a good few years after.
When are we looking?
I feel like it was the early 2010s.
2015 was Jupiter Ascending.
Oh no, Christ. Sean Bean is in it. Oh,
it's Mila Kunis as well, isn't it?
How does he die though?
Channing Tatum, Mila Kunis.
Yeah, that's the one.
Doesn't have Eddie Redmayne just absolutely tearing the arse out of his performance.
Oh, see, because Oh, that's the one I was completely forgetting. You got the Matrix, and then V for Vendetta, which I quite like. Good. Speed Racer, haven't seen it, but I know a lot of people think that was good, right? It's like, okay. Then there was Atlas. Cloud Atlas is the one that's really fucking weird, right? And
yes.
Yeah.
But weird in a good way. I kind of liked it for some weird
Would you say it's weird in a good way and then Jupiter Ascending is weird in a bad way?
I think so, yeah. If I had to define them.
With with Cloud Atlas, it's weird it's good in segments and weird overall. So each individual segment can be quite good. But combined, if it's the film I think of, combine those segments together and the overarching film is not good because it makes no sense. But there are individual good elements to it.
And I think so, yeah. Sense8, which I was driven insane after watching just 2 episodes of that. I couldn't handle it. And then, I don't know what Work in Progress is, but then Matrix Resurrections, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
No.
No?
No. Isn't just no. Anyone who ever mentions the Matrix, no, just no. Terrible film.
I thought you were arguing with MauLer's premise. That
my bad. If you like Resurrections, that is okay.
I was trying to emphasize the premise of that.
Do you remember watching that, Rags, Resurrections? That was painful.
That was really painful. We almost bailed on it. I think we were about 40 minutes in and nothing had happened, so we were getting really close to bailing on it. Luckily,
I bailed on it.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all.
I got to the strawberries bit and I was like, fuck this amount.
It has a really weird backstory because they rejected the idea of coming back to do a Matrix 4 for years. And they said, because someone came to them and said, well, can we do a video game then? And then they said, the Wachowski sisters now, the Wachowski sisters said, yeah, that's fine, do a video game. So the video game came out, Matrix Online came out, they said, that's officially canon. Then the Matrix Resurrections comes out. And it's based partly on the story, as far as I understand it, of the Matrix Online and a preceding Matrix game I never played, which was okayed by them, which nobody ever played, hence them not existing anymore. But that's why Morpheus is dead, that's why Nairobi is who she is and where she is, that's why there's a second city. It's an incredibly weird way to do world building across these different mediums. You essentially have a main trilogy of films, you have 2 games that no one ever played, and you base your 4th film off the 2 games nobody ever played in a meta-commentary about how studios force writers to create new products. Just no.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
thumbs up then.
And I know that a lot of people defended the film by being like the film is self-awaredly making fun of the idea of running your franchise into the ground with sequels.
It's one of the earlier examples of it was supposed to be bad defense.
Yes, yeah. I think this one began that era, and I fucking hate this era.
No, guys. Well, just trying to say that exploiting children sexually is bad.
Well, on the subject of like it's supposed to be dumb, Waylon Bicephus asking us: bucket of AIDS or glass onion? That's his question.
Bucket of AIDS.
Which one's more harmful, I suppose?
Glass onion only lasts like 2.5 hours, so...
Yeah, I guess
also,
we'll do that.
You could leave the bucket out in the garden and never touch it, so...
I had a bucket of AIDS.
I don't know if it's a dangerous thing to just leave a bucket of AIDS
in the garden, just on the general premise.
Well, I love the idea that it's something that you could actually pour into a bucket. Yes. Like the AIDS virus is just in this bucket.
Well, I'm just wondering.
Oh, don't spill it! No.
If the premise is I'm keeping it as a weapon to use against people, then
the burglar comes in your house, you throw a bucket of AIDS on it. He's like, I
haven't stopped you, but you have AIDS now.
Have you just given me AIDS? I'm HIV positive. I have.
The robber's like, I can still shoot you. And you're like, yeah, but you got AIDS.
But you have AIDS.
Everybody's got AIDS.
Ultimately, it's pointless. Or you can invite him to sit down and watch Glass Onion. Like, which would he rather do?
They'll just give him cancer.
This person's obviously
which will kill him more slowly.
There's a question: does the bucket have a lid? Valid, I would say.
Typically not. Buckets are generally lidless, right?
I mean, I'd assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah, but you can get a lid. Might be.
All right. Well, we've solved the lid on the AIDS bucket question. We can move right along.
I think we're all right to move past that one.
Yeah.
Juan Garcia says, MauLer, I've only ever read the Harry Potter books and never saw the movies because I heard that they ruined Ron's character. Are the movies at least enjoyable?
I haven't seen them in long enough that. By the way, this is open to everyone else, surely, because my familiarity with Harry Potter, it starts and ends with one watch in the theater, I think, for each of them, and then I lost track of the last 3, and I think I caught up someday. I just checked them all out, and I was just like, meh. I've always thought they were fine.
I've read
my familiarity starts with I don't give a fuck, and it ends pretty much there as well.
I read all the books multiple times. I saw I think I've seen all of the films a few times. The films are painful, and the books aren't, but I've not read the books for a long time. The acting in the films is terrible. So
wow.
Yeah.
All of the famous British actors are in there, though.
I know, but then
British things.
You compare the acting in the kids in the first Harry Potter to the kids in Stranger Things Series 1, and then you realize, no, they're pretty much just shit. So, yeah.
I think that's probably fair. The Stranger Things made a huge impact for everybody because those kids did a really fucking good job.
Yep.
They're all old now.
And they're still shit.
Elderly.
Yeah.
I read the books when they came out, but that was a long time ago. I don't remember a lot of what happens because so much time has passed between now and then. The movies, they play on TV all the time, so you just eventually absorb them whenever you're around a television set. They're probably pretty mediocre at best, but I make no strong claims. I'd have to see them again. I don't know if we have a Harry Potter arc that's planned out or anything like that.
It may very well happen.
Who knows?
J.K. Rowling's prose style is awful, which makes the books more painful. Like, you will not get to an end of a sentence where it's like Ron said such and such a thing shoutingly.
I was going to say
said such and such a thing.
You have to really love adverbs if you're going to get through J.K. Rowling's books.
I really don't in the way that she uses them. Just no.
Yeah. Slack Attack says, thanks to Velma, we are witnessing the first ever species swap. Scooby is alleged to be a black woman that Norval falls for because she's a food critic, or how they subvert our expectations.
Don't do it, Val. Mindy, cancel that episode.
Well, what if we removed Scooby and turned him into a human woman? That's a really bold idea, Mindy. Let's not do that. You know how people love Scooby-Doo because he is a talking dog? Maybe let's keep that element.
Yeah.
There really need to be a lot of that in this show, in the course of this production. Like, that's a great idea, Mindy, but let's not do that. We needed more of that.
I mean, it's so unreal as well, because I've heard one of the excuses was it would be too silly to have a talking dog. It's just like...
This show doesn't give a fuck about silliness.
No fucking way you're making that argument.
In the third episode that you didn't see, by the way, whenever a therapist, no matter how bad they are, puts on a cardigan, people are powerless but to reveal all their secrets to them.
That's funny.
And also, Daphne kicks Velma all across the gymnasium where she smashes into the wall with blood coming out the back of her head, and she's fine. Oh. So... fuck the rule. No one knows the rules of this
Fred got
stupid
shot in
universe.
Both legs, and that one kid lost a foot.
Yeah, that lasted a night. Come on, whole night.
Well, he lost it again in the next episode.
Time.
if hypothetically there is not a Scooby recast in season 1, because I'm pretty sure, well, I've been told at least that is not going to happen. Let's say there's a slot open for a talking dog in season 2. Rags, are you up for it?
I will be commenting on the show from afar. I don't want to be like that.
Get your bag though. Just take the money, then criticize the show on your channel.
Maybe, yeah. If they paid me a bunch,
they'll have the non-disparagement clause. They always get you. That's how they get you.
Probably. I probably not. I don't want my people represented like that. You know, we only get so much representation in media. I don't want them anywhere near Velma. Like I said, in retrospect, maybe it's a damn good thing that Scooby was removed from it to keep him pure.
Yeah.
You're too good for this world, Scooby.
Now, Scrappy Doo, on the other hand.
Kill that little son of a bitch. Kill him. Andrew Clark says, I love that MauLer's impression of the critical drinker is 90% Count Dankula, timecode 253 on EFAP 222.
I did do an impression of you, but it wasn't very good.
I'm deeply offended. It's all right. When I try to do impressions of me, they come across as terrible as well. So, Max Bolton says, congrats on Little Platoon. Long may the success continue.
Thank you.
JS Pena says, happy anniversary to Tremors. What anniversary will that be? I thought Tremors was like 1990 when that came out.
Is it 22 years old and 23 years old even?
I guess it must be.
What about...
Weird time for it to come out in January. Well, I'll take your word for that. That's when it came out. So, nice. I love that movie. Tremors is just a nice comfort movie. You can always go back and rewatch that. Andrew Monpetit says, hail to this phenomenal panel. My question to each member of the group is this. What is one fundamental aspect of the entertainment industry that you would like to change that would improve it overall?
I'll start out with a controversial opinion. I wish that audiences had better taste. I wish that... Yes. I think that a lot of these problems are very bottom up, and I think that the industry in a lot of ways is very reactive. A lot of bad stuff makes a hell of a lot of money. And I wish people were a bit more focused on storytelling and they cared more about it, which I think would just pay dividends down the road. Avatar is making $2 billion. Look at all the Marvel stuff, and it's just a money printer.
Yeah.
People watch them. They keep watching them. A lot of people love them. They think they're good. And that's kind of what I would probably go to first. I just, there you go.
Fewer consumers, I guess.
Yeah.
Mandatory redrafting. Mandatory fucking redrafting.
No, the first draft's perfect.
They're forced to look at their scripts again, and that applies to the best and worst artists. Okay, please just give another look to the script that you've got. I beg you.
Yeah, I say hire good writers and directors based on their ability instead of their identities. That would be a nice step as well.
Yep, that's fair play.
I say get rid of the. Oh, sorry, what?
No, not you.
No, I'd said everything. There wasn't going to be another word after.
But I would echo Rags with the qualification that I think a large part of the reason audiences accept what they're given is because they have no alternative. So let's say, just as an hypothetical, let's say Jurassic Park came out in the same year as Jurassic World Dominion. I think the audiences would flock to Jurassic Park and not to Jurassic World Dominion. They flock to these things because they are not given a choice. And that's on the studios. Audiences will see what they're told to see or what's available to them to see. Avatar is in part successful because every other film studio looked at it and said, well, there's an Avatar coming out. That's a cinematic event. Therefore, we must stand aside and let it be successful in the name of competition. That's nonsense. But that's partly why everyone goes to see it. There's nothing else to go and see. So I think bottom up is a reason up to a point, but I don't think it's a sufficient one. My personal one would be that I think if I could make one change to film studios and writing teams is that you go back to art for art's sake, criticism for criticism's sake, and you cease with this idea that a film is only good insofar as it perpetuates a message that's agreeable to your clique and to your social set. And that's the critical era we're living in at the moment. Change that, I think you could change a lot underneath it.
I agree. I think I would also say, stop making movies that are so expensive that their bare benchmark for success is making over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Bring back this era of like mid-budget movies of like, 50 million that can actually afford to be like a little bit more experimental and interesting and take risks again, because this era of $200-300 million movies that become safe, homogenized crap, because that's what they think they have to be in order to make back their insanely bloated budgets, is just, again, it's not sustainable, and it just produces the most bland, forgettable garbage imaginable.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Also, with the gaming industry right now, too, is that these games have like $100 million budgets, and almost all of it is going into CG and like the story side of it. And I think that the gaming industry would benefit a lot from, a lot of these games lowering their budgets, even like the AAA studios and such, and just letting games be games again.
Oh, it'd be nice to get a heavier focus on innovative mechanics. That'd be cool.
Well, apart from Naughty Dog, keep blowing your money.
But the realism part works for films as well. I mean, I would rather watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I would think that I would say that looks better than any given Marvel project, or even Avatar, which supposedly pushes the boundaries of digital effects. The practical effects of 2001 utilized properly, and I'm not saying that practical is always better than CG, but if you actually have a care to realism, you can constrain yourself in quite useful ways by limiting yourself to using things like models, to using practical backdrops and painted backdrops, as the words. The Lord of the Rings uses painted backdrops a lot, so don't go all in for digital.
Technical constraints breeds creativeness, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's just a result of having limited resources to work with. You have to be more creative and you have to be more inventive, and it often ends up a better product at the end. I think. Did you say that Avatar looks so good?
No, I said Ant-Man.
Ant-Man
just looks so authentic with its, constructed sets. It just looks like a green screen blob.
I'm sure.
Well, how's the quantum realm really look?
Yeah, have you been there?
Like Basingstoke.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Is
that a Harry Potter thing?
Like Newcastle upon Tyne. That's what the quantum.
We talked about this before. I think more in a previous open bar. Like, I love that this quantum realm of infinitesimal, like, crazy physics and it's just like this idea that it's so ridiculously outside the realms of like our own universe that like gravity and everything shouldn't even apply because it's so crazy. Like, with everything that's in it. And yet it seems to just be a regular old place with cities and restaurants and stuff that you could just like hang out in. It's like, what is the point of this? It's just another CGI mess.
I guess all the restaurants in the quantum realm are like tapas joints.
I think so, yeah. There's only one serving size. Small.
It's just finger food.
I'll have the small fry. Like, they're all small here. So.
We remember from the first Ant-Man, right? This idea that the original Wasp, had been trapped in like the quantum realm because she was, her suit had malfunctioned. She was like eternally shrinking, I guess. And like, you get to see little glimpses of it, and it's this crazy realm where all kinds of reality just gets distorted and so on. You think, well, that's an interesting concept. I don't like to imagine a place like that where it's at the point where it's got its own like ecosystem and it's stable in the sense that you can have cities and towns and villages with restaurants and houses and stuff in it. What is the point of that? It's just our world then, but just with a nice skybox painted around it.
There'll be wacky things in there.
It better be wacky, yeah.
I hope it's more interesting than the Multiverse of Madness take on like, it's like an alternate universe, but they walk on red. Ooh, isn't that cool? Ooh.
Fucking hell.
Everything's made of paint somehow.
Ooh, I'm going to the memory store.
Yeah, the fucking memory store.
That was the stupidest writing ever.
No, you don't understand.
Here's a memory button. Step on the memory button and then watch your memory and walk away, and they didn't even pay.
What if the memory was of you railing your first girlfriend and you're just there on the street and you step on the button and it's just, oh shit.
Or just as you'll just
turn this off.
You stand there and you point to it like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Az is like, we're going to stay here for the whole thing? It's like, yeah, might as well.
I had to live through this, so do you.
That is, oh my God, that's the laziest writing I have seen in a long time. That memory fucking store.
He's writing the next Avengers movie.
It's gonna be great.
I think that's become standard writing. It was the laziest example at the time, but that's become what we're really expected to accept now. I think that is where we are. The memory store is obviously nonsense, but the basic premise of the memory store from the writer's perspective is that, well, the plot needs this to happen. What's the quickest way we can have it happen? Well, have someone step on a plate. Go forward into any other media since then, which is equivalently lazy. You'll find an equivalent of the memory store plate, even if you don't actually have to step on something to see it. That is where we are in terms of writing. It's almost become standard now.
You see, with every new sort of thing that comes out, there's usually something memorable about it in terms of like one very specific writing choice. Glass Onion has several of these where it's just like, wow, you did that. And that used to be something that if you did it, everyone would be like, wow, this writer sucks. But these days, it's just like, nah, that's just normal. That's fine.
Well, like, dumb is the new baseline for movie making, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Dumb, contrived convenience. Like, that's how we put scripts together now. Because why waste time thinking? Like, thinking is hard.
Like, why is that even? Some people are like, why is there's nothing wrong with this and everything? It's like, no, the part we don't usually explain is that when you're writing something and you're like, man, I want Mr. Evil to kill Mr. Good, or at least try, but I want Mr. Good to live. How do I do this when he's got a minigun? It's like, what if he just misses?
Yeah,
there you go. I'll write it. He just misses all of the shots.
That was tense.
Yeah, oof, that was tough to write, but I did it because I'm a good writer. It's just like, fuck off.
Give yourself a nice pat on the back. Back Then and Back Again says, hello from the US. Would you agree that the current state of professional storytelling is due to an elitist belief that the position justifies the work produced, as opposed to the work justifying the position that they were given? Interesting philosophical question there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think...
I mean, a lot of people have potentially some very unfounded faith in artists just because they're artists. It's a convenient question to ask because we're right off the tail end of a release of Glass Onion, where a lot of people. I think the best example in that film was how what's-her-face. What was it? She was killed because she was too clever. Essentially,
she didn't fear him. She was too clever.
Yeah, she didn't fear him because she was too clever, which is an absurd thing to say. But people hear that and they just like accept it. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They say to themselves, like that's. Like on its face, absolutely ridiculous. But I think a lot of people just sort of have this, oh, we're going to trust the artist and what they're telling me, and there must be a point to this. And, you know, to a degree, that's probably fine. But the links that people will accept things despite their lying eyes and what they're heard, what they see, how they just go along with anything Ryan says without any sort of a critical eye. It's not
well,
good.
I wonder as well, like if this question was aimed at like, I don't know, the political aspect of how people tell stories now. So like if we're talking about elitists from Hollywood, is it just like, well, clearly like my view of the world is the only correct one, and so I can just impose that onto my audience through the work that I'm doing, and there's not even a doubt of me justifying that or interrogating my own thoughts. It's just I'm going to tell you how you need to think. You need to think exactly like me. Because that kind of seems to be the mentality behind a lot of films nowadays as well. They don't invite you to think about issues or which are contentious. It's more a case of, I'm going to tell you what's the correct way to think about it.
Right.
There's an old lecturer of mine. I did philosophy at uni. I think he's called Patrick Madigan. He wrote a paper called Milton's Lucifer and the Cult of the Artist as Genius, which is a really, really fascinating read. If you can find it, I think you probably can somewhere. I recommend you read it. The idea behind his essay is that he charts this back to John Milton's sort of Paradise Lost, this idea that Lucifer in Paradise Lost is for the first time represented as a hero, as a protagonist, as someone that you should aspire to emulate. And he is so because of his unique vision, his ability to set artistic terms of reference. He is a creator rather than a destroyer. And he charts, Patrick Madigan, this is the lecturer, charts this forward through, say, famous sports players who you follow because they are who they are. Say Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, who people will follow irrespective of the team that he plays for because he is who he is and he's the person you attach your idolization to. You can bring that forward again into the artistic realm when you get the recrudescence, I would say, of the sort of the movie auteur or the directorial auteur. People like Rian Johnson who will think of themselves, well, my vision is so brilliant, it's so unique, that it must therefore be right. And you as the audience are expected to buy in not to the story he's telling, but to the vision he's trying to put across. You find this, I find, in at least in defenses of many films, including Avatar, where people will say, well, Avatar, the Last Smurfbender, had a vision. The Last Jedi with Rian Johnson, well, there was a vision, it was different. That's the cult of the artist as genius. That's you saying, well, the director had this vision. He had this idea. He is a genius. And the person you're supposed to pay attention to is him, not the story he's telling. Whatever he says must be true, must be right. You can follow it forward again into politics. If the director who you admire, respect because of his vision, because of his talents, if he comes along and says, well, this is the political messaging I want to get forward in my films, you've already accepted the point, which is that the cult of the artist is genius. The director is the genius. You go with the director, you go with the sports player, you go with Lucifer himself. That's kind of a long development in the history of sort of individualism, but individualism that paradoxically begets collectivism because the audience, the mass audience, is expected to coalesce around the individual figure. It actually it destroys individual thought because the audience doesn't anymore look at works of art as something which are individual to themselves. They look at a work of art in terms of, well, who created it? What do they think? What do they want? And why are they doing it? And if I agree with that politically, aesthetically, or philosophically, it must be correct. That seems to me to be an incredibly muddled way of trying to explain a trend in society, in the sense that we no longer look at art for its own sake. We now look at art in terms of, do we agree with the person who's created it? Do we agree with what they believe and think? And if we do, it must therefore be good. And that's not, to my mind, what artistic criticism should be about.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed
that's my way
that.
of agreeing.
Could you just repeat that?
I was going to say, it reminds me a lot of Matthew Arnold, if anyone's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, I'm getting my memes in where I can, okay? But no, seriously, I agree, though.
Yeah, Matthew Arnold, me.
I equally hate the whole, like, I don't care what they produce as long as they're on my team, it's good. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a lot of the motivation behind things like TLJ and the defenders of that. It's like, well, it pushes forward progressive ideas, so like that's fine for me. Like I'm just going to support it regardless. I'm not going to interrogate whether I enjoyed it or not. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that kind of tribalistic attitude towards things is everywhere in media now, and it's as simple as, in a lot of cases, I'm just going to pretend to like this because I know it pisses off the right people, and that's a great attitude to have towards art. It really is. Like, you know, it's no longer about personal enjoyment or anything. It's just about owning the other side, I suppose. And
look at the evolution we've had recently with Velma. It's like, this side, this was meant to piss us off, right? You guys making this bullshit. The other side's like, what? No, this is your thing. You're trying to piss us? What do you mean?
It's
like,
one of those rare singularities of shittiness that just somehow like pulls in everyone from every end of the spectrum. It's just like, yeah, we've all agreed that this is shit.
Great, though? There has to be a war to be fought, so someone's got to take it. It's like, nobody is taking this one.
It's like the Harry and Meghan of the entertainment world. Like, nobody wants it.
Have it.
Next one is from Vinyl Morpheus, who says, Avatar 2 or Top Gun 2? The answer is Puss in Boots 2, the best movie of 2022.
Yes!
I don't know how it came to this, but I'm not even kind of kidding. Not a hint of anything political. It's just a grand old-fashioned swashbuckling adventure.
He's right.
I have heard some really, really good things about this. Has anyone...
I'm going to watch this movie.
I need to. It's on my list, but I gotta
of
say.
all the weird things to come up, like a fucking Puss in Boots movie after like 10 years.
It's amazing.
I got a confession though. I don't like Shrek. I just
wow, that is a confession. You need to be absolved of that sin.
But I will say you can still like this.
This is going to get clipped. I know it. the day that Az self-destructed.
That Family Guy meme was like, I don't care for Shrek.
This was his mundane Matt moment.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Az, no!
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
Well, and what people don't realize with the Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, is that it's got good action scenes. It's got good like combat scenes in it, and people don't think that.
People don't realize that?
Yeah, even though Puss in Boots, obviously he fights, but when I started mentioning this stuff, people are like, fight scenes? What? And a lot of the art style is similar to like Into the Spider-Verse. But I actually, they're way different, but since they have the similar art style, I enjoyed this movie more than Into the Spider-Verse, and I loved Into the Spider-Verse. So, yeah.
Nice. I mean, is it just that it's got a great character arc for him?
It is hilarious. It's wholesome, and it's just like no forced message in it at all. It's just good fun.
The bit that I've seen, I have to say, the thing I liked about it was it was the opening boss battle juxtaposed with the part where Puss in Boots he meets the wolf evil villain guy.
Oh yeah.
Which
spoilers.
I've seen that wolf around.
No, like I've not seen the film, right? I've seen the wolf around, yeah. I've not seen the film, but I've seen those two clips. But that, as far as I know anyway, that's deceptively simple but good character writing. So you begin with your hero defeating this supposedly amazing.
Are you just going to tell us the plot when we said that we haven't seen the
I haven't
movie
seen
yet?
it. I haven't
That's
seen
literally
it.
It's not relevant whether you've seen it or not.
Rags, we're watching it after this, okay?
All right.
As far, from those two clips, which are publicly available clips, so no spoilers.
The whole film is publicly available.
Just because the public...
Okay,
Jennifer
freely available on
Lawrence's
Twitter.
nudes
Is
are
that better?
publicly
I don't
available.
care if it's freely available. I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I.
Do you know what else is publicly available? Velma. Velma is publicly available.
I could spoil anything from day one.
Legitimately available in the form of trailers on Twitter. Was that better?
No.
Don't spoil the trailer.
Oh, okay, then I won't spoil it. Fine.
I can't believe we're even talking about this when Shrek is besmirched.
Yeah.
We sniffed potentially something good.
I will say, like, when I watched it, there was a moment I was concerned, like, oh, is this going to be the old bait and switch where the female character steals the limelight of the whole show? But it doesn't happen. It's good. It's really good.
How's that not a spoiler? Why am I being complained at?
I've chosen to scramble whatever she just said in my head. Don't even know what she said. Someone about girls.
Okay. I wouldn't think that was a spoiler, but...
Life has been spoiled with the comment about Shrek. I'm just saying.
You think you know someone, your whole reality's just been upended.
Abstracting it, there is a setup and a payoff, and it works, and that's rare in film these days.
Good.
Well, that is, yeah.
That was
like payoffs.
acceptable. Very good.
Drinker, I fucking love the whole like setup and payoff. That's alive and well. Look at Ryan Johnson. They faked the death scene with the hot sauce because earlier he had hot sauce.
Yeah, that's the setup. It all fits. It all works. It makes so much sense.
So good.
Because I personally, like, when someone thrusts a bottle of hot sauce into my hand, like, my thought is, like, I need to put this in my jacket pocket because I might need this later, you know, I'll just carry it around with me. Oh,
I really can't imagine any scenario where I'm just, like, trying out some stuff in a buffet and then they're like, hey, you want to keep it? Put it in your pocket. You're like,
It's like, no! Fuck off with your weird hot sauce.
Carry it back to my table and leave it there.
Like, what is wrong with you? Get me another glass of champagne. I'll do a couple more here. Mr. Left Turn says, afternoon, gents. Glad to watch Open Bar to help take my mind off Netflix blocking a recent upload of mine. And congrats on Little Platoon for reaching 100k.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Wolf's Pain says, speaking of Resident Evil 4, which we weren't, but anyway, how are you feeling about the upcoming remake? I'm nervous because of the censorship from the VR port of the game.
What censorship?
I don't know. What's that?
Well, they changed a lot of like Ashley's, because in the old game you could see up her skirt sometimes, and you can't anymore.
Could you? Wow.
Sort of. I
never knew that.
If you leave Ashley on a ledge and you go below, because she can't jump down ledges, you have to catch her. Yeah, she comments on you being a pervert.
Yeah. So they took that out. I personally am cautiously optimistic about the Resident Evil 4 remake. I loved the Resident Evil 2 remake. I thought it was fantastic. 3, it was okay. 4, I'm cautiously optimistic about it.
4, I think Resident Evil 4 is one of the greatest games of all time.
Probably.
I think it's in my top, definitely in my top 5.
I would probably put it up there too.
Sitting round about number 3.
I'll pop it in my top 10. I don't want to be too
definitely top 5 for me. They have made a change at the beginning of the game, which I don't like, which I am sad about.
Tell us about it.
It's publicly available.
Is it in the trailer?
It's publicly available.
Okay.
The dog that you rescue at the beginning of the game that comes back in the boss fight, the dog's dead when you get to it.
But
why in the trap?
Why kill the doggo?
But there's a theory. There's a theory that if you don't get there fast enough or whatever, then it dies. But maybe it won't if you get there on time.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's true. That's
so
just...
every motherfucker out there is going to be speedrunning their way to that dog.
Yes.
You were enjoying this game. Nope, dog dead.
I can't because I need to go back to the policeman after I've got out their car because I want to see if he says, "What? Did you forget your makeup or something?"
I got,
that's one of the best lines in the game.
Every last nook and cranny. If that means the dog dies, it's going to upset me.
Yeah. Well, that's always part of the fun of a Resident Evil game, isn't it? Just really taking the time to tune into your environment and explore the place.
Yeah.
So I think it's looking great. I think in HDR it's going to look spectacular because it's going to be really dark and grim and gritty. I'm optimistic. I can't say cautiously because I am optimistic about this remake. I think it's probably going to be more akin to the Resident Evil 2 remake as opposed to Resident Evil 3 remake.
I hope you're right.
I hope they're wrong. I hope it is not like that. But this is where which is where a lot of my concerns come in. Resident Evil Village sucked. That was a bad game.
I did like it.
I like Resident Evil Village.
It's okay to like it. But you like it if you want, but it's a really bad game. And I think it represents a horrible direction that the series is taking. Because the characters sucked, the plot sucked, the gameplay sucked. It looked really nice, though.
The gameplay was pretty good.
The gothic horror idea doesn't really gel with my idea of Resident Evil. It's supposed to be about
it doesn't have
research
to be.
And stuff.
I think they need to move away from that because it's been really lame as they've been doing it, and they've played it so much.
There should be
the gameplay.
I know, but having werewolves and stuff.
I think that would be fucking interesting. It would have been cool because what we do is we have a series that's built around Umbrella, and it's all science and it's all technology and gene splicing, and we've essentially delved into the realm of magic anyway with all these experiments that are just getting absurd. I think it would have been interesting if you actually have a character go into this remote part of the mountains away from the world with this village and spooky castle, and it really is like an actual curse. It's not an Umbrella thing. It's not about gene splicing and science experiments. That would have been interesting, but that's not my problems with Resident Evil Village, really. The characters are bad, the story's bad, and I think the gameplay is super mediocre.
Listen, it sounds like a hyper hot take. We have something like an 8-hour podcast detailing exactly all of our issues.
All of these we talk about. Yes, all these we talk about in depth. But my worry with the remake, specifically of Resident Evil 4, is that Resident Evil 4 is extremely tongue-in-cheek. It is super gameplay focused, and there are massive elements of it where you are abusing your iframes, quote-unquote abusing iframes. You are constantly hitting enemies, then kicking them, and you're trying to hit things out of the air. There's a lot that goes into the gameplay of that game, and it's very arcadey in its feel, and there's a lot of options that you have. Yeah. And that was not in Resident Evil Village. Anyone who thinks that Village was like playing Resident Evil 4 is either delusional or you don't remember Resident Evil 4. They were completely different games through and through. Resident Evil Village is about putting a white dot on someone's head and clicking 7 times. And it sucks. It's
Resident Evil Village.
It's
taken the same path that they took with the original Resident Evils, where it was just making them more action heavy. Resident Evil 7 was compelling because you felt vulnerable as Ethan in that game. You were relatively light on weapons. There weren't that many enemies, and it felt like fairly grounded. and more horrifying as a result. With this, it was so fantastical, like you couldn't really buy into it being terrifying. I never felt that for a second. Well, it just became a goofy adventure.
I really wanted to like it. I
wanted to like the idea, but they threw in all the things. Look, it's a village. Look, it's a castle. Like Resident Evil 4 had a village and a castle. It's like, yeah, but they're completely different.
Well, they try to sell the Chungus guy as like, it's like the merchant. It's like, why? What? Because he sells you stuff. Like, what? Why are we? This is getting a little weird now. Like,
so I'm worried that this remake is going to be like Village and everything, where the gameplay is extremely standard and mediocre. And we lose everything that made Resident Evil 4 so fun to play over and over and over. Where you have all these different weapons and you could do all this stuff in combat and you have all these different strategies. And yeah, does it make sense that the grenade explosion doesn't hurt you because you're vaulting over a chest-high wall or climbing up a ladder or you're in an animation? No, it doesn't. But that gave Resident Evil 4 this incredibly special, old-schooly kind of arcadey feel to it that was super focused on being good at the game and being, and playing it, instead of what we have now, it's just super mediocre. Like if I can't shoot someone in the head and then kick them and do a roundhouse kick, or if I can't put someone on their knees and then push them back or suplex them, if I can't kick a door into an enemy and then they stumble back because the door hit them, then we've already lost so much of what made Resident Evil 4 great.
In some of Village's defense, though, as it wasn't intended to be as action heavy as Resident Evil 4.
It's not the amount of action, it's how terrible the action was.
Yeah, you were saying
it's such a mediocre game.
Well, I think the reason why I loved it so much is for Resident Evil, my favorite, like this one reason why I love 2 so much is like I like the exploration, I like puzzle solving, I like collecting things like that. The action kind of takes a backseat to all of that for me, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it more than you did.
Maybe I don't even think the exploration or anything was good at all in Village, especially when you can't, like when for no reason you can't go back to the castle, or things like that. How you'll reach a fork in the road, and if you choose the wrong direction, then you're just you hit the cutscene one. You were supposed to go right if you wanted to actually explore that little zone, and you chose wrong, so fuck you. Things like that.
I hate that when that happens in games in general. Sucks.
The Resident Evil 4 really is worth a replay, so that if people have forgotten, they remember what made that game excellent. Very tongue-in-cheek, super self-aware, but with a very high focus on arcade and skill-based gameplay that had a lot of mechanics involved with it. Not just putting a white dot on someone's head and clicking 7 times. That sucks. I hate that. Give me something interesting that I can replay over and over and over and try different strategies and try to min-max and get as good as I possibly can. That's what I want from the remake.
Resident Evil Remake EFAP coming at you in March, I guess.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll be good.
Sorry, Rex, I missed that. Could you just repeat that?
I love games.
Well, you give it, it was such a middling opinion. I didn't really know how he felt about 8, so...
We are passionate Resident Evil discussers over on EFAB, right? That's what that is.
There is definitely worse things to be passionate about than Resident Evil. I support this.
I'm passionate about some of them. Most of them I just couldn't care less. Like I don't care about the RE2 remake or the RE3 remake. I don't care about like 6. I don't care about 6. 7 was.
I can agree with you on that one.
6 was terrible.
Yeah,
7 was like I guess the first 4 hours were something. There's something there, I guess. But yeah, I'm really worried.
Where do you sit on 5?
5 is.
I like
5 is complicated.
I like 5 if you have a friend to play with.
It's a really fun co-op game. Yeah. There's a lot of
good.
There's a lot of good elements to the gameplay of it that expands on what 4 did in terms of what you can do. There's some interesting tactical decisions that have to be made that didn't really exist with 4 as much because of the inventory system change and all the positives and negatives that come along with that. But it's not. I'm not going to say it's good. It's not as good as 4. But
it's crazy I'm not going to write it off. I would actually say it's like one of the few games where I'd be like, better to play it with a friend than on your own. Like,
yes, because it's worth playing with a friend.
You don't want to be struggling through that with like Shiva's AI.
No,
let you down.
That's a character I think we need to see again. Now that Ethan's done,
I'd say Sheva again. Sure.
Yeah.
She's
I like her,
one of my favorites. I loved her.
Sheva, come on. Sheva.
Yeah, I think that you could do a really cool story that's set in really anywhere with her.
I think apparently the motion capture actress and voiceover girl, like she really worked her arse off on that as well. Like she put in crazy hours to do all that and get it right because she was doing the voice and the mocap and the stunts all at once.
I remember the unlockable skins for her.
Hell yeah, dude.
They were amazing.
That's something you wouldn't get nowadays.
The little like Red Riding Hood and the tribal bikini.
Yeah, the tribal bikini one. I remember. I was like,
yeah. Pushing all my buttons.
Everyone, that was Resident Evil chat featuring a drinker and the rest of the gang.
Yeah, you got your money's worth out of that super chat.
I might finish it there actually because I know we've been streaming for about 3 hours or so, and god damn, it's been a hell of a stream. Like we were getting close to 15,000 people watching us live right there. So that's pretty damn good.
He likes people suffering with Velma. I swear, it's fucked up.
I think that's
so fucked up.
Fucking masochists out there.
You end over like 3 hours. You lightweight.
I know, right?
I know. I am not a long man.
15 hours must be the minimum.
We stop streaming tomorrow.
Yeah,
my liver can't take it. I can't do 15 hours of drinking.
I just gotta bounce by tomorrow because Fire Emblem Engage comes out.
Yes.
So
I've heard Fire Emblem has been
tomorrow.
No, today in the UK.
Well,
I was about to say we just hit today.
Lucky
yes.
you.
Hooray!
But I've heard it's been ruined by localization, so we'll see what happens.
Oh no!
Oh god, what are the staircases in that game?
Three Houses was
Three Houses was legit.
Brilliant.
I loved it.
Fucking brilliant.
But
So
as far as I know, I've not played it yet. I've not heard too much about it, but from what I know, everything that made Three Houses good in terms of relationship building with your fellow characters is gone from Engage because localizers thought, hang on a minute, high school kids having relationships, that's probably pedophilic, which is a thing that they didn't consider when they did Velma.
So to be fair, Velma's probably not a good representative of that concept. So
it's not. Fire Emblem Three Houses was a good representative of that, but apparently that's all gone for this game, but we will see. So I'm literally about to go and download it now.
Is it only Switch?
Lucky you.
I don't know.
Only Switch.
Only Switch. Okay. I'll get it plugged in, charged up.
I'm
ready to go
to play it.
I might even do it for my
like you guys. So
I might even do it for my 100k like Q&A stream, just Fire Emblem in the background. I don't know yet, but I want to play it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, apparently it's been wrecked. I hope it hasn't, but apparently it has.
Well, anyway, I want to thank all of you guys for coming on tonight. It's been awesome. You've been an incredible panel. So thank you for making this such a special stream. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you to our lovely chat and the mods who've done such a great job keeping everything up and running. And for all your generous super chats. It's been incredible tonight. And for the ones that we've missed, as always, MauLer and I will catch up on them later. So we'll leave no super chats behind. But yeah, I think that's us for this evening. So I guess that's all that's left for us to say is that's all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Toodaloo, everyone. Bye.